3. Why does he got to do this now? Oh, thank goodness. Whew. That was a close. Did the stupid stream end? Motherfucking son of a... You motherfuckers. That is not how this is supposed to work. I'm supposed to be able to end the stream and fucking start it up again. Oh, come on. That is so fucked up. All right. New link. Oops. Part 1. All right. Let's see here. So now we're going to take this one. And we're going to change this one to being private. Then we got to go to this one. And we got to make sure that this one is public. That this one has the correct name. And we need to update the thumbnail. Okay, there it is. So now we got a new thumbnail, and now we should be able to go to my own stream in the YouTube dashboard and do the things that we would do. And hopefully this is actually working. All right, good. Now, I don't know if that means that Rumble and Kick are going to keep chugging along or not. I guess I'll have to fix that later. Oh, yeah, we're not streaming to Kick anymore. Kick is whack. Yeah, I'm done with Kick. Not having it anymore. Kick is pissing me off. Like, way too many scammers trying to sell me garbage. If I want to buy services, I will buy services from people I know. People I know, like, and respect. What's up, Lemon Pie? So, yeah, I'm having a heck of a time getting my browser extension. I have this really cool browser extension that normally lets me see... Oh, I clicked on the wrong one. Okay, I clicked on YouTube chat in full screen. I don't even use that plugin. I mean, I'll turn it on and try it out one of these days, but the plugin we're looking for is... this one. So what you do is you turn on the plugin, you hit F5 to refresh it, and boom, we get this big fat box in the bottom of the chat window. Then I could place that on one of my monitors, you know, wherever is convenient and visible to my eyes. And yada, yada, yada. So I apologize for the inconvenience, guys. Pretty well energized today. Last night I was not so energized, which is why I did not stream. You know, I was not prepared, you know, so I did some preparation today. And as soon as we get the YouTube live chat overlay to work, we're gonna roll with it, all right? So let me just do a quick little preparation here. You know, I like to resize the chat window and be able to do that. So here we are. We're gonna do that, exactly that. And probably the font is big enough. But how is everyone doing tonight? You guys ready to see some fake drones? Because come on, you know, this shit ain't real. I mean, some of it is, but like, this is what my position is. Originally, my position was it's a total waste of time to even put any attention into it. And that still kind of holds true in my opinion. But, you know, when the government says, you know, or the media says, don't worry about it, or it's not dangerous, it's like, okay, you know, like, it's like natural to question of that. I'm not terribly concerned from a danger point of view, but it's just like, you know, it's so many contradictions, you know, and maybe there's a logical reason why you would do something secretly with running lights on. And what I mean by that is when you see these drones, you know, they're secret. They can't, you know, the top secret tests, or not, maybe not top secret, because I'm sorry, top secret would imply you actually go out of your way to keep it a secret. So clearly it's not top secret. But maybe it's a test to gauge reactions and responses of local police and agencies. And so, of course, keeping the police out of the loop and just letting them have to deal with the general public while people are concerned. I mean, it's some kind of bullshit, man. I'm sorry. Like, and I don't think precedent alone, you know, preceding occurrences is enough. You know, because many a time people have some conspiracy and they'll say, oh, but they did this in the past. And it's like, well, okay, you know, but it doesn't mean that's what this is now. But in particular, one of the funnier things I read in the comments, in fact, we should just go look at the comments, was something along the lines of a person said they saw a fixed-wing drone or fixed-wing aircraft and that it resembled a normal passenger jet. And so the insinuation, or what they're saying is, the implication is that drones are being disguised, they're scaled-down models or scaled-down versions of passenger jets, which, okay, yeah, I guess if you want to confuse people, you would do that, right? You would fly a drone that looks like a passenger jet, and even at lower altitude, like, you know, a couple hundred feet up, it would resemble the size that it would be, or, you know, in terms of angular size, meaning like if you were to take a protractor and measure the angles, the size of this object, like the moon. The moon is, let's say, 1 degree wide, and a star is like 1 arc second, which is like a subdivision of a degree. So it's like, if I take my finger and I can wrap it around the moon like this, that's what you're measuring, basically. That's the angle you're measuring. And of course, the moon is not 1 inch in size or 1 degree in diameter. You know, it's the apparent size. It is apparently that size. And the same thing would go for, like, say, a star, like Barnard's Runaway Star. And, you know, it's like a name of a famous astronomer, I believe, back in the olden days. And essentially, Barnard's Runaway Star is one of these stars that, if you measure it over the course of like 100 years, it moves like a centimeter from where it is today to where it is in 100 years. And of course, it's moving a lot more than a centimeter. I believe it's because it's a star that is not inside of our galaxy. So essentially, it's a light source or a point light source. But not being inside of our galaxy, it is not moving anywhere near the same speed as things that we are closer to. Yeah, you know, I mean, all kinds of things, right? Yes, exactly. And then you got these videos of like cars in parking lots with blinking lights, and, you know, some of these things you could fake. That's the other thing. People don't know what to trust. And I'm not saying that like just because AI video exists that you got to assume that everything is AI generated, but that's another layer of confusion there for, and you know, I think a lot of people would say. So anyway, let's take a look at the first video I have here that I got on Twitter Grok. And so basically this is the one, I guess we'll get the audio online for this one because I think it'll probably make sense to have audio for this. And let me just move the OBS window to my drawing tablet so I can look at the audio levels. As you know, sometimes we have to manage these audio levels if they get too loud, but let's play it. Ready to go? Okay, on my mark. Hey, wait, it didn't go. Oops. Okay, so this is one example. I'm going to show you different levels of perspective. Hey, where's the sound? Oh, I got to close DaVinci. That happens sometimes. If you unplug your sound card or your sound interface while using DaVinci Resolve, things get a little, you know, funny. That's pretty much normal. So we're just going to really quickly reopen DaVinci. And while DaVinci is loading, let's see what we got on the Twitter webs, huh? So this is a guy's video I clicked on, and let's see here. We'll just see here. Okay, this one here already doesn't look like a credible concern, but let's go here. One thing these craft have in common, they seem to have something that looks like some sort of AI robotic eye. The fuck does that even mean? Here you can see 2 different types of drones, yet both seem to have the same device on them. Yes, it's called a fucking light. I'm sorry, I'm trolling here. I actually don't know what it is. I'm not going to pretend in this case to know what it is, but it's like one of the things we are doing tonight. In fact, maybe we should hit the ground running, or maybe we'll wait a few minutes, see more people tune in. I want to show people how to operate a fucking camera. And in particular, if you have a flagship phone, especially from Samsung or something, you know, remotely similar chipset, perhaps similar, you know, software that handles the optics, I'm going to teach you how to take a clearer picture of a drone so that if you're one of the lucky bastards to see these stupid drones, or maybe they're not stupid, I don't know if they're stupid, but if you're one of the lucky bastards to spot one of these drones, you can actually then get a picture of one that doesn't suck, or at least is a little clearer, you know what I mean? Like just, like with detail, because I'm sorry, you can't make claims about something if it's blurry. Now, I get it. Some people have a genuine eyewitness testimony, and they say, look, you don't have to trust me, but I know what I saw. And that's fine. I can respect that to an extent. But, but, if you present something as evidence, maybe people should take notes of what they see when they see it, so that they at least have something that doesn't morph with their memory. Your brain, your memory sometimes is a little flawed. You remember something one way. I do not need a guest tonight, Wade, but thank you. Also, I'm streaming through StreamYard and I'm streaming directly through OBS because I want to be able to get the full 60 frames a second because that shit looks good when I do it that way. Oh, good. Okay, I was just checking the settings down here. And also means I wanted to squeeze in a little Nintendo 64. No, you're not too late. I'm late. Oh, cool. I'll have to check that out. Oh, yeah. I know you. Huh. Wade's got a crap ton of new videos on his channel, too, I believe. Hey, I can't see the menu. All right, I'll do it later. I'll click on Jose's chat later and get the video or whatever. If I remember, just play it by ear. But, yeah, this is just poor, inconclusive. It's like, in fact, I have videos similar to this I'll pull up next, but, I don't think you can just add a nose to something that doesn't have a nose. And some of that, this one actually has a difference in shading between the original background, and the object, so that's nice. I have not even thought about that. It could all be Photoshop, fake generative AI, or some other fuckery that I haven't considered. Look, anything's possible. Like, if you see it with your own eyes, then at least you could trust your eyes, right? And, some people will be like, oh, it's blue beam or some shit, and that's all fascinating. Oh, I got you, Jose, no doubt. But it's good to see you, Wade. So anyway, let's see. So I had this cool thumbnail here. And real quick, I just want to do something real quick. Windowed projector mode. I want to put this on my top right corner monitor so I can glance at it if I need to glance at it. Yeah, there we go. Oh my God. Episode 1, Pot Racer. Right, so let's see here. More lights from car. Oh, I didn't get more video from San Antonio prepared. I mean, I got a little bit of video, but I think I'm going to save that for next week because, I want to do a more organized. Let's see if the sound is... Okay, good. We got sound this time, so...
That is massive. That's enormous.
Yes. Passenger aircraft are quite enormous.
We're going about the same speed as it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's not moving. Oh.
And I don't blame the wife for making the observation that they're going about the same speed as that. But you don't know how fast they're going when you're doing relative measurements, or relative observation, So that's a factor too. And key thing with any UFO sighting or UAP, as they say, like the people will be like, oh, but this has credibility. This guy's a fighter pilot. I'm like, being a fighter pilot doesn't make you smarter or better. I mean, well, yes, you got to be smart, but no, it doesn't make you infallible. It doesn't mean that just because you are swooned by something, that a fighter pilot is swooned by something, that we got to all pay attention. It's like they're just as in the dark as we are, except that they were there when they saw some weird shit flying some kind of way. And maybe I'm just distrusting of, state actors. What do I know? Guys sitting down in front of Congress like nobody's ever lied in Congress. In particular, that David Grush guy. Who remembers that motherfucker? Like, Pixar didn't happen, as I say, and as many people say. But with David Grush, it's like he worked in a role where you don't... Same thing with David Grush and this Elizondo guy, the guy with the goatee who just doesn't look trustworthy. It's like he's a Pentagon whistleblower. Says he worked in some kind of capacity that involved analysis of UFO footage. And yet, if you dig through his resume or look for pictures of him some years ago, it looks like he's working in a different capacity. So it's like, what's it going to be? But also, if he was a true whistleblower and divulging anything he wasn't supposed to divulge, then, you know, that should mean trouble alone. Now, of course, some people would argue that, oh, but if he gets arrested now, that would just add veracity to his claims. Well, the motherfucker writes books, and the books don't really add anything. You just sit there, you read the book, and it's like going back and forth. It's like, I don't know, man. It just doesn't do it for me. It's like, if you're going to release a book, then it should have like a definitive claim and pictures and, you know, references to help support that definitive claim. But just circle jerking, vacillating back and forth, and people being all amazed by the cool shit the guy's saying. It's like, you didn't show me anything. Don't got time for that. Yeah, it did sound like a jet. And I don't know how to differentiate minimum thrust or not, but I do know that they have new engines, different types of engines. So when you go to an airport, one of the things I noticed in the past 10 years, on the rare occasion that I do fly, is that you'll see, like, on these 787s or whatever they're called. Oops, what did I just click on? Uh-oh, I lost it. Bummer. Can I fix that? Can I fix that? I lost the little chat overlay. Please come back, chat overlay. I clicked on a button that hides the chat overlay. That stinks, doesn't it? Let's re-enable that real quick. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, guys. So we're just going to go back to the YouTube live chat thingamajig plugin, wherever that was. Okay, we're going to turn it off, turn it on, hit refresh. What did I do? How did I lose that button? That sucks. I think I just broke the live chat overlay, guys. Man. Oh wait, maybe I'm in the wrong browser. We'll try it again anyway. Oh, thank goodness. That sucks. I got to resize it now. Okay, hopefully that will look good on all of my different scenes. Okay. And we just need the live chat over here. Okay, I think we got all of the important monitors covered here. My VTuber is missing. Oh, wait. I'm not using him right now. Okay, there we go. Thank you for your patience again. I don't even know what cover story. Oh, no, computer's working fine. It's the OBS config. What I would really need is maybe like a plugin for OBS that gives me like plugins, James. Not plugins, like switching between different configurations. And I do have different profiles. I find that there's certain settings that carry over and certain settings that don't. And so I've decided just to kind of toggle them on and off on demand, typically before the stream. There are times where it can be nice to have some kind of checklist for certain things, however. Hey, what up, Space Fraggle? Good to see you, buddy. Oh, where was I? Oh, yeah, let's play some of that UFO now that we're back. All right. So we're going to start with the wide angle shot. We're just going to listen and play it by ear. Ready, steady, go.
That is massive. That's enormous.
That's what she said.
We're going about the same speed as it.
No, it's not moving.
It's moving. I'm pretty sure it's moving. Now, I did see a video where I saw a thing going side to side, like a drone going woo woo, and it's like, well, it could be a large drone, it could be a normal drone. Like, literally, after this shit happens, some people fly their own drones to see if they can make any observations up at altitude, or pretty low altitude for that matter. And someone else might freak out going, oh my God. So there's a few other factors at play here. But now this is a more of a somewhat stabilized version. I did a couple of different types of stabilization on these to sort of, help out with this. Looks like there's some lightning or some other light source. It could be the windshield being hit by headlights. That could be it. Yeah, so this is somewhat, we're using a motion tracking feature here. And because in the middle of the video, there's a massive shake, the tracking doesn't work. When it sees massive motion blur, it doesn't work. So I had to split it up and then do 2 separate trackings to get it to, be cohesive. And then a little bit later in the timeline, I'm going to skip ahead in a moment. But here we are. This one you can see where it's like very, very still. And I also put it in slow motion so that we can kind of overanalyze it. And well, as it typical for people who don't, really know how to use a camera, but want to I mean, I don't blame the guy. He's in a car. He's seeing something he's interested in that he thinks is related to the topic at hand. They're in a motor vehicle, so the low-level noise we're hearing is the motor vehicle potentially. Yeah, most of these resemble landing lights. A lot of these resemble landing lights on an aircraft. That's part of, where I'm at on this right now. It's like, and then I heard someone say that, I mentioned earlier, I forgot it was before the stream crashed or before I killed the stream by accident while trying to adjust settings. And they said that, I saw a drone that looks like a passenger jet, but it's too small to be a passenger jet. And it's like, you can't, it's like the chemtrails thing. People will see chemtrails or condensation trails, or what I would call a persistent condensation trail. And just because the condensation trail is sticking up there for a longer period of time doesn't mean that it is something exotic or something special. It's like different meteorological conditions affect the longevity of a condensation trail. So, what causes condensation trail is basically temperature difference between the particles coming out of the jet engine's exhaust and the moisture contained therein. Essentially, you got water vapor, right? Hot air can store more water vapor. And when it rapidly cools down, or if it cools down for any reason, that water vapor gets squeezed out of the air, so to speak. As the air shrinks, it loses its capacity for storing moisture. And different conditions will affect the longevity of that trail. But we've been seeing them since World War II on the bomber planes over Europe, over many countries. And then when it's not chemtrails, like, let's say people determine, okay, like they point the camera at the plane and they see that, it's actually coming out of the jet engines. It's not coming out of the wing or some kind of spraying nozzle. Then they go, I read this article that talks about putting special fuel additives in, to create clouds or something to block infrared radiation, to reflect heat away from the earth because of, people concerned about climate change or whatever. And it's like, well, okay, then show me the documents. Show me evidence that this is what's being done. Now, does chemtrail not happen? I mean, it does happen. Like, what I mean is geoengineering is a real thing. Like, you can look up videos of meetings where they discuss, like a municipal meeting in particular. Like, so it's a municipality in the Pacific, in the southwest of this country. They'll be talking about plans to spray over the Sonoma Valley because, you need to nucleate clouds. So, their goal is to spray something from a plane that causes nucleation, meaning that cloud formation, basically. And then, of course, you can get rain out of the atmosphere. Now, of course, you could argue that playing God like this has potential unforeseen consequences. Like, for example, is that water supposed to go somewhere else? Like, we have drought issues in the desert right now. It's true. A lot of people on the political left side argue that people shouldn't be living or running farms in Arizona. It's a dry place. No wonder the water table is drawing down. And they might have a point. But if people in California, municipalities are, and they're probably doing it in, Arizona too, are doing cloud seeding, well, guess what? That's moisture that maybe was supposed to go somewhere else, and it's now going in your farmland or something like that, going down on your farmland. And, well, that can have a negative impact on water tables, aquifers, and things of that nature. So, yeah, I need to repost the link to this show on YouTube real quick because I want to make sure people can tune in. So we're gonna just put that on Twitter, and I'm gonna play another video. Because oh yeah, we'll zoom in on the video real quick. Let's see here. Oh, cool. We got a video of an Army guy talking about drones. Maybe we should check that out. As we know, all Army guys are experts on everything. Jokes aside, though, an honest Army guy will indicate that they are. Military guy, I don't know if he's Army or not, will indicate if, they are ignorant of details. But this should be a real treat right over here because I'm sure I'll poke fun at it if the guy is in error, you know? So we'll roll with that as soon as I make a quick community post. Okay, let's see. Revised show link. Live now. Now at 11:31. Oh, bummer. What did I just click? Oh my God, there's a guy whose name is 11:30 p.m. That's weird. I did at 11:30 with an at symbol, and it comes up with like a tag. I'm like, I'm not trying to tag a person named 11:30 p.m. Okay, there we go. Now, let's see here. Let's just see. Oh, let me close my messages. Jeebus, Weebus. Well, it doesn't not matter too much, but let's still be careful.
Now, in New Jersey and stuff.
New Jersey. Hey, where's the YouTube chat? Oh, there she blows. Shiver me timbers. Hey, what up, Dad Man? Walking. We're talking about the drone debacle and having fun with that. There. Good to see you, Mrs. Dad Man Walking. Hope you're having a wonderful night. You had a great stream before. It was good seeing you online, and I hope you have a wonderful sleep cycle. Hey, what up, JPRP? Wait, okay, I'm sorry, JPRPH1. I don't know. I thought I was adding an extra letter in there for a second. Oh, I thank you. That's too kind. I heard of people changing out round high beams for landing light bulbs. Landing lights. Wait, round high beams. Same size apparently. Interesting. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. All right.
Stuff in Texas, everywhere. Like, y'all don't gotta be afraid. Them are man-made.
Oh, there we go. I didn't click on the chat. Well, once again, good to see Dad Man and Mrs. Dad Man
now,
and JPRPH1.
well, you do have to be concerned.
And Phaser Beams.
But it's the
all good, James.
the orbs that's inside the sky. That
yeah, I lose patience when people are like orbs. Bleep your orbs. All right, I'm not gonna use loud profanity because he's got nice people to chat now. But I've never seen a credible orb video. You know, it's like I've heard like people say, oh, well, some orb videos the orb takes a turn. It's like, okay, well, I'll take a look at that. If I could find a video, it's like, well, you're also shaking the camera, so the lens flare is going to do what lens flare is going to do. But more importantly, if you have an out of focus picture of something in the sky, you're not going to see anything. And so claiming it's an orb because you didn't use your camera correctly. But, you know, we're going to do camera education right after this guy speaks, all right? And then we'll go back to some drone footage because we need education on using cameras today, guys.
y'all see that's glowing and stuff, that's shooting down the drones and all that, that's not a part of us. Them are actually real life aliens. Like, aliens do exist. They're above and they're below us. Yes, they do exist. And 2025 there will be a lot more of exposing the truth. Now, I can't say the reason why, but because it's already out here, so I can speak on this. Aliens are real, and we will have to evacuate sooner than later. But
that's cute.
Just be careful. Keep looking up in the sky.
No,
We are
You know what? If you don't know how to look at the sky, if you don't know what the F you're looking at, don't look at the sky. Save us all a lot of time.
launching the drone
But jokes aside, or just learn how to understand what you're looking at. You know, maybe watch some Discovery Wings channel. You know, on YouTube they got a lot of recorded episodes of the Discovery Wings channel, which has become the military channel, and you can learn a shit ton about airplanes. And then maybe then you might be remotely qualified to like call out what the F you're looking at.
up in the sky as of right now in New Jersey and stuff, in
Oh, is this a looping video or is this?
Texas, and they're below us. We will have to
Yeah, that's like so. And then someone's like, "Oh, he seems very genuine." Soldier claims we are launching the drones and that the orbs are the aliens. He says that 2025 will be there will be a lot more truth. And like, I got friends who I'm very good friends with who say that we're in a post-disclosure world. It's like, what disclosure? Because they let that jerk-off Grush speak in the halls of Congress in a place where nobody ever lies. Because, yeah, nobody ever lies in the halls of Congress, okay? Like, I don't give a shit if the guy, did sign some kind of shit that says he's going to tell the truth. The fact is that we don't hold people accountable for lying in the Capitol building. So it's like, that's not really gonna give me like much to like to trust. It's like, just because you believe it because you trust it, I'm not obligated to have that level of trust, and I would implore others to not have that level of trust. But let's see what we got here. 1996 Army Sergeant's letter to Linda Milton Howe claimed full alien contact in 2025. Yes, because a picture of a document that I can type on a typewriter, I can make what Courier new font and print this shit out and make it look faded. I mean, I could fake this document. I'm not that I would, because I don't believe in, doing stuff that gets me in trouble. But, I mean, like, this is like a joke where, like, sometimes. That's interesting. He's got a little caption there. So is this from a book or a pamphlet? It might be from a pamphlet. Maybe from like some alien club in 1996. Hey, look, there was a time where sometimes they would cover some interesting things back in the day. I'll admit. Nerd! Takes one to know one, Baron. Good to see you. There is such a thing as disinformation that gets spread around as well. Indeed, pop culture mechanic. It would create a hostile work environment. DJ Ronnie G being forced to be honest. Yeah, well, if you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. No, but you're right, though. I hear you. I dig it, man. He's got to roll with it. Just don't do what I do. Record a video 50 times and then never upload it. Although I've been, I do that on occasion. I'll upload the video after recording it, but some people do better writing out a script, even though like the organicness of YouTube is speaking off the cuff. I think that's best done for live streams, and for recordings, it's like, because you have time to hold off before uploading it, people are more inclined to second guess and say, I could do this better. And sometimes I'll go through the editing process and discover like an oopsie halfway through. So these things happen. Yeah, right. You know what I'm talking about, Space Fraggle. I watched Discovery Wings shows. What I saw was an orb. It was clear and it flew right over me and a friend. That's cool. I mean, like, I'm not doubting you. It's just that if someone's going to go put themselves out there on a video, I'm not obligated to believe it. And in your case, maybe you saw an orb. I can't apply that, or I choose not to apply that. Obviously, I could apply, but I choose not to apply your eyewitness testimony to the blurry pictures I see all over Twitter, and that's part of my thesis there. Hey, what up there, Bone? Good to see you, buddy. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. Oh, yeah. Phil McCracken is an alien. You know what? And it's not that I don't believe aliens can exist, just that, like, when people show up and they're saying that, oh, yeah, this is definitely a, from a UFO of extraterrestrial origin, and because it's moving so fast, they have a technology level that, of course, means they can do faster than light travel. It's like, one does not necessarily follow from the other. It's like optical sensors, the human eye gimbaling cameras. Now, Isaac Arthur did a pretty good video analyzing those specific occurrences, and let's just grab that video, even if we don't watch it. Oh, cool, my friend Oris is on. And then we got these sensationalist videos. We got, like, this guy here seems like a nice enough guy, but he also seems like the kind of guy who knows how to work the algorithm by saying things that people agree with. I remember there used to be this guy after the Trump election in 20 whatever, you know, the last election, the prior one. And he'd always start off his videos saying some shit, reading a Bible passage or some crap. And I'm not saying the Bible passage is crap. I'm saying the person using it for clout is. You know, it's like, it's okay if you have a religiously oriented channel, but, you know, you're talking about politics and then you say, being like, blessed is the day, he who does half this. And it's like, basically, that's just a way to get people kind of like to buy into your stuff, basically. And then they donate money because they're like, oh, he's a good Christian. I'm going to send him money. What was I looking for? I went to YouTube search for a reason. Yes, I remember. Isaac Arthur, UAP. This should do the trick here. Yep, there it is. Good. My boy Isaac. He's on it.
This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream.
I am an
Get
alien
access to my streaming
from
video
Italy.
service, Nebula,
Hey, yo,
when you sign up for
Abastabajo,
CuriosityStream using the link
Afango.
in the description. For every possible UFO
And then, how's the audio, guys? Was that too loud just now? Should I lower the voice over there? Let me know. Well, Phil may not be an alien, but he was probed a good few times by them. Yeah, but at least those were like Playboy bunnies, you know? They just were wearing green makeup for Halloween. So, you know, Phil had it good, yo. He had those Playboy bunnies with green makeup pretending to be Orion slave women from Star Trek. I mean, that's a good time right there. Thanks, oh, appreciate it. How you doing, LCX? We got LCX in the house tonight. Yeah, so we're doing a drone debacle. Oh, and you're just in time. I'm glad you tuned in. We're about to do drone lessons here. Not drone lessons. We're not doing drone lessons. We're doing camera lessons. So if you or anybody else sees a UFO, a mysterious drone aircraft, you know, these were happening in Jersey, right near my own stomping grounds. And in fact, there were some drone sightings in Staten Island, although we are also right under the flight path, the landing path, the route that the planes take when they're landing in Newark International Airport, which is, you know, in Newark, New Jersey. It's a little airport. In fact, if you're going to fly out of my part of New York, that's the airport to go to. It's just like way more convenient than hustling to JFK or LaGuardia. Forget it. Like, unless you get a really good price on a ticket. But thank you, Mike. Thank you, L, for, you know, confirming the audio. I trust both you people because they both have awesome channels. I like both their content very much. I enjoy tuning into both of them whenever I'm awake to do it. Sometimes I'm not awake. They were not bunnies. They were the East German weightlifting team aliens. Doo, 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 doo. Oh, shoot, the chat box is, needs to be resized there, huh? How could I miss that? There we go. There we go. Oh, no. UFO. Yep, exactly.
There's always a debate if it was an alien
Now,
or
we're
a
not going to
weather
play this
balloon.
whole thing,
But nobody ever seems to wonder if it was an alien weather balloon.
I'm gonna
So
crank
today
it
we'll be
down.
discussing the various UFO sightings and footage released officially by the US Navy in 2020, and we'll ask if they are UFOs, what they might be if they're not, whether or not they are UFOs of a terrestrial origin or alien, what they might be
I love how he's playing music in the background right now. Like that creepy doo.
if they are either of those, and if they are alien, what it might indicate. I've been getting requests to do this episode for some time,
there's a
and
reason I'm showing
declined,
this.
though it did finally win one of our polls over on Facebook. We run episode topic polls on a lot of our
Okay.
feature of folks being
So first of all, he's going to kind of call out the different types of footage.
able to add their own topics, but sometimes it throws me curveballs, and this is one of them. I normally do not like to discuss specific topic. It's not yes, the probably was defined
He's caging himself. I get it. He's saying, look, I don't normally cover this, but you know what? Enough people are getting on about this crap. I'm going to give you my 2 cents.
aerial phenomena.
And so this is relevant here. Gimbal footage would be like one of those aircraft gimbals. Let's see if we can get you an example, guys and ladies. So this is what he's talking about. When he says gimbal footage, it would be something along these lines. Not exactly like this. You know, it could vary. For example, you have the one on the UAVs, which basically look like this. And you can see it's almost like a pan, tilt, zoom camera that you would find on a consumer drone. Or here's one on an Apache, or yeah, I believe that's an Apache helicopter. Yeah, pretty sure that's an Apache. That's cool. Composites. Space age composites. Oh my god. I hope David Glenn don't show up. If he shows up, I'm going to have to show him the PD suit I built. I mean, actually, I'd be happy to see David Glenn if he tunes in. But he gets an early bedtime, so I'm sure he'll catch us on the replay. But, you know, you can just see different variations. And this is important because they do have the ability to lock onto a target, at least in software. And so as it's tracking a target, you got to imagine that if an object gets to the edge of the frame, so let's say this camera is tracking my finger. If for any reason my finger gets to the corner, that camera now has to go, you know, like, so it's like left, left, left. So before it falls off the edge, the camera is going to rapidly pan to kind of, I guess, keep it in the frame. And that panning will sometimes make it look like the object is moving faster than it actually is. But I should probably let Isaac explain it.
But same difference, minus the conspiratorial tone UFO summons to many minds, and we'll just stick with UFO. Let's start.
I appreciate that. I'm tired of this rebranding of UFO as UAP. It's like, look, is what they were calling them in the 90s? Okay, UFO doesn't mean anything. It's like, I mean, it literally means, let me rephrase that. It means something, obviously. Unidentified flying object. And that could range from anything from a alien spacecraft to a plane that you don't recognize, a plane that is not, for whatever reason, you know, listed officially and that nobody can identify. It's an object. It could be a balloon, like a kid's balloon. It could be a Mylar balloon that nobody can identify. That is a unidentified flying object, you know? Like, in principle, like, it doesn't have to involve, it does not imply aliens. Like, people assume it implies aliens, and sure, a lot of people mean it that way, but no, that's not necessarily the implication there.
With the background real quick. There's 3 videos folks are usually talking about, nicknamed Gimbal, Go Fast, and Floor, and they differ from a lot of prior UFO footage in that it's US Navy footage, so it's generally considered higher quality and more credible in terms of both authenticity and various commentary and analysis given in and around them. For those of you watching rather than listening, you have been seeing the Navy footage on the screen as I talked, and seen some peculiar stuff. It can seem even more peculiar with the observations of folks watching the event happening on the recordings, and in the backdrop of some of the other reported incidents at the time.
That's how they lock onto it.
However, we can get some confusion, as for instance one of the videos was shot shortly after another pilot had seen something weird in that area, and often in discussion the events of that eyewitness account get confused with the video.
Quit lying to the people. In fact, your drone, the HB-132, or Herbie, keeps texting me about what you are doing. Incoming jump signature designations unknown. IFF status confirmed. It's a wing of alien interceptors. On your tail! Yeah. See, I know how to do the laugh. I know that laugh. And if you tune into LCX the channel, you'll know how to do the laugh too. Not drones, it's Ronnie's family finally coming to visit. Yes, from Italy, Mars. Or aircraft for his... I actually had an idea. I want to do like a fake UFO with one of my turtles. You know, like maybe wrap them in foil or just take a picture of them and like do some green screen compositing and make the turtle look like they're flying and then make it blurry because of course it's got to be blurry. Attach some LEDs to the turtle somewhere and then boom. We got an alien, a flying alien. If you're unfamiliar with the Sandown Clown, it's a strange story to look up. Ooh, what a treat. What's up? Merry Christmas, awesome one. So we're going to skim through this a little quick. We also have a radar to protecting military secrets and in trusting the footage, since most of the explanation for these mundane events comes from running the math on that displayed instrumentation. I would tend to think it genuine, but it isn't exactly a wild accusation to wonder if the data on the screen might have been doctored before public release to avoid disclosing instrument capabilities or weaknesses, and if it were, well then all of what we'll discuss in a moment for mundane explanations would be wrong. And see, this guy's very scientific. He's carefully caging the terms. He's taking care to like, you know, just point out that like, you know, just because he's smart doesn't mean that his observations in a moment are going to be definitive.
The mundane, but in a very approachable fashion. And I'll link his playlist focused on the Navy.
Okay, this guy with a channel named Mike West, apparently he does talk about this in an approachable manner.
And the one I find most likely is that we're probably looking at a plane, a balloon, and another plane respectively. While Gimbal and GoFast basically say what the issue is and is not, FLOR does too in a less obvious fashion. FLOR stands for Forward-Looking Infrared Radar. Many bits of footage or pictures in the air or up in space can look weird simply because they're not shot in the visual spectrum. Infrared is the heat the object is giving off, and it can make for a very blobby and unsharp image. Now this video isn't about saying what these objects were or were not, or whether we get visited by aliens or not, but in this case we do have one thing we can simply debunk. Folks looking at the infrared footage will see a black object with a white halo, black indicating heat, and white ordinarily indicating a quarter region.
Yeah, he's pointing out that the video is inverted, so essentially white, well, let's see, what did he say?
Halo, black indicating heat, and white ordinarily indicating a quarter region.
Yep, because essentially now, like, if you have a heat source, if it was not inverted, the heat source would be white, and this would be essentially, you know, detected as something not as warm. And so you would have that temperature difference, that color difference. You'd have that, you know, but they inverted these things because we do this sometimes in astrophotography. It just makes it easier to kind of differentiate things. You know, it's not like a critical thing, but it does help for differentiating objects from one another.
This is a weird thing because a hot object giving off a panoramic is simpler.
The
white halo in the video isn't a pocket of cold, but an artifact of image processing, the camera system sharpening a blobby, blurry image. Now that's a good example of folks doing their research, but not enough or in the right spots. That's also a lot more understandable in pre-internet days with some other footage and pictures, especially given that exact camera effects, filters, and so on used by the military aren't necessarily public information, and folks would have to. And if it were what the folks thought it was, a genuine halo of cold, then yeah, that's some scary advanced technology. On the warning that if you need a conspiracy theory to explain the motivations of another conspiracy theory, and more to tweak those to explain their loopholes, you might want to be considering if something more mundane and straightforward is the reason. Kind of infrared signature. That implies some sort of advanced technology if true, and again, the really advanced kind, your thermodynamics violating kind. But the more mundane explanation is that it's just a balloon moving at the same speed as the wind. I know, it's a cliche to say that a UFO is just a weather balloon, but as we say in regard to writing and reading science fiction, just because something is a cliche doesn't mean it's bad. We launch a couple thousand weather balloons every single day, and of course they have no engine on them to produce infrared heat, and they're full of helium rather than hot air, so no heat holding them up either. They also usually are carrying a science package plus a radar reflector exactly so we can track them.
I'll show you a science package.
They tend to pick up on sensors pretty easily. Now, such a balloon obviously can't travel the speed of sound or make jerking movements outside of extreme weather, and I'm
going to only go through this example here, but, you know, like, I'll leave the link in the chat. You guys can bookmark it or something.
You would find on a place like Jupiter, not a terrestrial hurricane. But here we have an easier answer. In GoFast, the background seems to be moving so quickly because the plane and its camera watching the object are moving fast. So the background ocean behind the object is whizzing by because it's looking at it from a rapidly changing angle. There's the question of why the Navy kept these secret for years, and part of the answer is part of the reason why these bits of footage look weird. Quite a lot of classified imagery is classified not because of what's in the picture, but because of what the picture reveals about the camera, tracking system, vehicle carrying the camera, or the time the camera was in that location. In these videos, there are overlays of all sorts of arcane data, and that's the flight and camera information. The Navy wasn't worried about revealing the object.
UFC
they were worried about what
Ultimate
clever
Fighter
rivals might be able to
Championship.
deduce about our hardware's strength and weaknesses from that footage, like how to evade detection or shoot them down easier. On the screen for GoFast, there is data like how far the object is from the observing plane.
That's handy. You see, look, infrared angle, so the camera of the sensor or angle that the gimbal thingamajig is pointing. Sensor elevation below aircraft axis. So I guess that's like the axis of flight, so to speak. Range to object in nautical miles. Now, this here is not a guarantee. I would bet you that is not a guaranteed, you know, number right there.
And what angle the camera is tilted at. And as we'll see with the parallel footage from gimbal in a moment, we also see when the camera loses lock and has to reacquire, which causes a skip and other visual.
So this is what it is. So these two parallel lines are encircling the object or surrounding it, and the little dot in the middle over there, that is the object in question. So when my mouse pointer is jumping up and down, and earlier in the video you see a large box, and so it's almost like a selector box that someone, either the computer automatically moves, or that the recon officer or the pilot, if it's a solo pilot, would be maneuvering over the object, and then the software would identify the difference in contrast, most likely, between this and the surroundings, and then that's when the software would automatically close the box, make a nice tight box around the object.
Anomalies. If you're trying to get a plane or missile past a tracking system, knowing when and what caused it to lose a target lock is obviously rather handy. Again, we can't disprove other theories here, and we don't know for sure what these objects are, but that's the mundane explanation for keeping it secret, for instance.
C-Slim?
Though you can throw in a dose of good old-fashioned bureaucracy for the delay too. As I mentioned earlier though, if we consider that motivation, we also have to accept that the video that did get released might have had those instrument overlays doctored, though we'll assume they're genuine for now. It's around 6 kilometers high, and the object about half that, 3 kilometers beneath it and above the water. As soon as you do that and calculate its motion based on the plane and camera motions, you suddenly have something moving at expected wind speeds, exactly what you'd expect from a weather balloon.
See, it's the same mathematics you would use to determine that we don't live on a flat planet. That, you know, you can literally use triangles and angles of different triangles or converging triangles to make, you know, to calculate the curvature of the Earth or various other things. In this case, the range and the speed of an object.
Around 6 kilometers high, and the object about half.
And so I may stand corrected about my claim about the nautical mile as being
that,
wrong.
3 kilometers beneath it and above the water. As soon as you do that and calculate its motion based on the plane and camera motions, you suddenly have something moving at expected wind speeds, exactly what you'd expect from a weather balloon, a nice radar return, no big infrared spot indicating powerful engines, traveling along with the
That was
wind.
the other issue. So
Getting back to gimbal.
people would make these claims saying that, oh, but they caught it on radar. And it's like, well, yeah, like just because something's, you know, not a plane and not known to you and comes up on radar doesn't automatically make it something special. I mean, in this case, you know, it's like, yes, a weather balloon will make a radar signature. In fact, we got some more footage in a moment, but we're going to do the camera overview now.
Again, if you want details, I do recommend those videos by Mick West I've linked.
And same here. So the video I just linked in the chat has links to another video. Now I'm going to teach you guys how to use a camera, right? We're going to do this. We're going to do camera lessons because people on the internet are, you know, in desperate need of how to do this crap because apparently nobody knows how to put the camera in manual mode. And I understand not every phone is capable of this, but if your phone is capable of this, then you need to use this when you see a freaking UAP, UFO, etc., etc. And so, yeah, we're going to get to that. Since everything, we're going to do that right after I read these three messages. Since everything is computer generated and computer streams, that might be something for training for them to track, but the government will never tell you a definitive answer on any of it. Don't care how many special sessions in trials they have, they will never confirm anything, or at least they won't confirm anything that matters, or that, you know, like it won't confirm anything. Yeah, basically you're right. I mean, I'm you know, it's sort of like the fact checkers. You could split hairs on everything, but at the end of the day, you're basically right. If those drones make an image of Sailor Moon, then we know it's DJ Ronnie G. Oh yeah, we get those holographic Sailor Moon, you know, dancers up there. I like the way you guys think. All right, let's get this camera down here, down into a downward facing position. We're gonna do a downward dog with the camera here. Okay, that sounds like a yoga pose. Oh, well, it is a yoga pose, but I digress. Downward dog sounds dirty. Okay, excuse me. All right, so observe a camera phone. You know, I can do this. I can make phone calls and take pictures. Let me adjust the exposure. See, look, already I'm about to adjust the exposure settings on my camera. What I mean by that is, oops, wrong monitor. Let's bring it down here. All right. So look, this camera view, it's like you can't see the text on the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and do you all a favor, and I'm going to crank down the exposure by 1 stop, maybe. That should be enough. Right now we can see the text on the screen. Should we make it a little dimmer? A little too dim, huh? All right. We'll bring it right here, because this is too much and this is just right. Just like the Goldilocks zone of cameras. And then we're going to go here, and we're going to open up the camera app. And I'm going to direct your attention. Let me make sure this is in focus. All right. So this is a Galaxy Note 20. Excuse me. I just want to get this just right. Right, there we go. I just want to frame this perfectly. You know what I mean? Like, I want this thing to be, like, as close to perfect as I can get it. All right. This is a Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. I'm speaking really close to that microphone, aren't I? And by default, when you open up the camera app, yes, it's going to take pictures, you know, using automatic exposure. And you can, like, tap on different parts of the, you know, screen. You'll notice that when it detects something dark, it brightens up. And if I click on this white button here, it's going to get a little darker sometimes. But, or if you click on this button here, you can even lower the brightness. So you can do, if you don't have time to learn how to manually operate the camera, you can simply adjust this slider. And a lot of camera phones will at least provide you with the ability to do this. But this camera is a bit fancier. So real quick, we should point out we do have 3 sets of optical sensors. I believe one of them is optimized for video. One of them has, 2 of them have different levels of zoom. Unfortunately, Samsung kind of went out of their way or inadvertently made the specs a little confusing on that. But now we got 2 modes here. We got, well, Expert RAW, I would say refrain from that. Unless you absolutely know what you're doing. But learning how to use this last minute during a mysterious drone event is just not ideal. Pro, this is for taking still photographs. And this, I think, is great. I'm going to show you this one first, because understanding the principles in still photography will allow us to be more proficient with the Pro video mode. So now in Pro, regular Pro mode, right off the bat, you can see that everything looks impossible to see. And that's because I have the ISO set to 1600. So down here at the bottom, we got this little bar, and it's got all of the manual settings. We got ISO 1600. That just means how much light sensitivity we're dealing with. So ISO 3200 means that it's going to basically give you a brighter image even in low light. But if, let's say, it's too bright, you have too much light, or it's a sunny day outside, you could bring the ISO down to 50. Now, it gets really dark. You might think, oh, why would I ever use that setting? And well, essentially, the lower the ISO, the less film grains. So if conditions permit you to use a lower ISO between 50 and 200, that's going to help you get a clearer photograph or a clearer video. And that means that the more data you have out of the starting gate, the more that you can, you know, enhance it, you know, the more headroom you have for enhancement. So this is why this kind of thing is relevant. They may be sent by Castro Jr., being insulted by Trump calling Canada the 51st state. Well, you know, it's like a thing like, once again, I don't want to pay for Canadian services, you know, like they got their own entitlement, you know, system, and so to speak, their own entitlements for their citizenry. And yeah, I don't want to foot the bill for that. You know, like, it's like, screw that, you know. But jokes aside, like, if you're giving them money anyway, I can see the logic, like, whether, I'm sure it was just a joke, but like, if you're giving a country a ton of money anyway, like Israel, might as well make them the 51st state. We send them a bunch of money anyway, right? And I know people would say that, oh, we only send them $2 billion a year and they spend more, but any money we send them is money that they don't have to spend on their own people. So I remember I had this customer at Best Buy, and he'd be like, oh yeah, I got a really good cell phone plan because I live in Israel. And it's like, you know, when you, like, and they have a socialized healthcare system, apparently. It's like, well, yeah, you can afford to do that because you're not putting all of your money into the munitions. We're helping you out. Now, maybe you could say that from a foreign policy point of view, that's good for us. And I'm a bit out of my depth on that topic. So I'm going to go and move back to talking about the camera. But before I do, let's turn on my webcam so that I could be seen on camera. All right. Do drones or yoga? Hey, what up, fabric folds? Downward dog isn't dirty. You're doing it wrong. If downward dog isn't dirty, you're doing it wrong, says the guy with the fabric folds in the corner of the screen there. He barked. That's why I tried to do bark. I can do a better bark, but I don't want to, blow out anyone's eardrums. I would want to download downward dog with a drone. I would not want to downward dog with a drone. Is that the phone you use for taking photos of Mrs. Hanson in her bedroom next door? No, Mrs. Hanson does not live next door. She lives down the block. But yes. That's a good tip that I was unfamiliar with. Does it work the same in reverse and low lights to get rid of grain? Yeah. If you it does work in low light, but you may find that having a little bit extra grain in the picture might be more beneficial than having a dark underexposed image. But you could. There's different things we're gonna go over right now on how you can balance all of that out. What up, California Ford 44? It's lovely seeing you here tonight. Hey, my camera closed. All right, let's get back to it. All right, so we're going to go back to more. We're going to go to Pro. And I'm going to turn off my webcam because I think that's blocking the... We'll just angle it. All right, we'll angle it so that you guys can see it. All right, there we go. Okay. So now... Okay, so bottom line is that now what else can we do? Let's say we want to use the lowest ISO. Okay, well, how can we get the image to be brighter? Well, we got shutter speed. So shutter speed, a faster shutter speed means that you can essentially freeze frame someone doing the pole vault or someone running down a, race track, while arresting motion blur, So a higher shutter speed means that if I'm waving my hands like this, you're not going to get motion blur. On the other hand, a slower shutter speed, although it will be prone to motion blur, you'll see right now, a slower shutter speed can let in a lot more light. And so, yeah, you're going to get this. You can see how, each individual frame, because you're seeing a video right now, but... See, that's the motion blur for my hand. On the other hand, let's do the opposite. Let's pick a really high shutter speed and a really high ISO setting. Oh, and I neglected something. This is super important. You see this button over here that says focus manual. Well, this is probably one of the most important things that these UFO, people submitting pictures of these drones or suspected drones. This is one of the most important, everything's important, but if you have manual focus at your disposal, you need to use it. And you can see my DaVinci keyboard is presently blurry. So what happens when I adjust this? Well, let's take a look. It gets blurrier. Or it gets less blurry, and then it gets blurry again. And essentially, we can focus from anything that's really close to us. See my hand? Look, you can see my fingernail there. So that's 0 inches or 0 meters away. 0.2 meters away, 0.3 meters away, 0.4, 0.5. And then right when we get to the optimal focal point, notice that everything turns green, or at least the parts that are in focus turn green. That's because it's using contrast detection. It's detecting at which point does it detect a greater difference between the whitest white and the blackest black. And when it gets to that point, it's going to give us these little green highlights, which might not be so clear right now, but they look pretty clear on my phone screen. Pretty much all of the keys on the keyboard that have those white keys on the keyboard are surrounded by the color green on the top edges, basically. But you can see how the letters look green, and that's because it's highlighting the letters when they come into sharp focus. So you would use the same technique of adjusting the focuser manually, because autofocus can work quite well on objects that are in the same room, objects that are decently lit. Okay, you're taking a picture of your family, you're taking a picture of your kids, whatever you're taking a picture of. If it's standing near you and it's well lit, even if it's a skyscraper, this will have no problem detecting the contrast difference automatically and selecting the correct focal point. But when you're looking at the sky, even at under idyllic conditions, the sky is going to be blurry object, blue sky, blurry object that's barely lit with some blinking running lights, and a dark background with some clouds. Okay, this is not configured, or this is not really something that they didn't build this to achieve optimal autofocus on tiny objects that cover 12 pixels by 12 pixels, or 12 pixels by 8 pixels. It's 12 wide by 8 pixels tall. Yeah, it's not designed to like, home in on that. So you need to take control. You need to put yourself in the driver's seat when operating your camera phone whenever that's possible. Let's see what we got here. Stop talking. Show Miss Hanson's pics. Okay, I'll reopen the Kick channel. Even though I stopped using Kick, I feel more comfortable doing that sort of thing on Kick. I gotta hop. You are doing great, and people give this guy a like. Why, thank you. Pump those numbers up, and if you have not subbed, do so. Absolutely. Did I give you a wrench? I might have to give you a wrench. DJ Foe is fine, but I'm not going to give you a wrench because I don't want you to feel responsible. But you can have one if you want. DJ Foe is flying through outer space. I got to figure out what that means. Ms. Peter Venkman. Ms. All right. So anyway, we're going to do an experiment now. We're going to crank the shutter speed to like this. Look at that. Look at that. It actually did it. Like I was moving my hand real fast, but unlike before when we got the sick motion blur, you can see compared to this, that's a night and day difference right there, isn't it? I mean, it made my pinky look a little skinny, but that makes sense because there's another factor at play. A lot of these camera shutters are what we call rolling shutters. So you have basically, when it comes to digital image sensors, you have a rolling shutter and a global shutter. And with a rolling shutter, if you look up video examples, you'll see that when things are moving, like helicopter rotors and things, they'll sort of get this like curved shape to them. And that's because essentially the sensor doesn't update all at once. It essentially scans it from top to bottom, like toot, toot. And it happens very rapidly, but if an object is moving fast enough, or if you're panning the camera very quickly, it'll essentially make everything look like it's in italics, to make the image look kind of slanted. And this is something that a global shutter, which can often be more expensive to produce, or at least more expensive because they're not as popular, they're typically used in very particular niche applications, scientific and maybe cinema, where they're willing to spend big bucks on things. But a consumer grade shutter has a lot of versatility, but they sacrifice the ability to have a global shutter in lieu of a rolling shutter. And so this is another thing that goes against getting, a clear picture. This is why it's important to learn how to use your camera when you're taking a picture of an object, because you're not going to have much veracity. And even if you did everything correctly, you might not get a great picture. But at least if you have a better picture, people have something to work with. You might be able to debunk your own photograph if you take a clear enough photograph. All right, let's keep rolling. Yeah, I guess so. Oh, yeah, it's true, actually. I dig it, Salty. I have no wrench. Sniff. I thought we were frenemies. We are. That's why you don't have a wrench. Well, once again, like I said, I don't want you... Do I have a wrench on your channel? I don't expect that. I'm not saying that you have to give me a wrench on your channel to have one on my channel. I'm just saying. Now, jokes aside, Chaos for You 728 has a wrench here, but he's never given me a wrench on his channel, and I'm okay with that. But anyway, my password. Okay, good. Pro, because I'm a pro. Okay, but they just say that. There's a lot of things that say the word pro on them, but they're not. Oh, yeah. A great use of rolling shutter has been people showing off liminal flow where there is no limit of flow. Liminal flow. Is that like that thing when they do the what's that shit called? I can't click on the button right now. I can't even see the menu. I'd hook it up, but right now I can't even see the button to make you a mod. Because I'm using a chat overlay. That's how you can see the cool chat on the screen with all of the right avatars on it. But I'll click it. Let me see. What happens if I make someone a mod while they're not watching? Does it work then? All right. So anyway, real quick, we'll run through this. I just want to click on something real quick. I lost track here. I'm looking at my screen from an awkward angle right now because I have my webcam blocking my view. All right, there we go. Oh, wait, that's the stream that malfunction. Oh, no, this is it. Okay, good. I got it, Baron. Put user in timeout. Haha, you thought I was going to make you a mod. His password is 1701. No, it's not. It's 1701A. Okay, I like the movie Enterprise. It's very pretty. She's a beautiful ship, all right? What can I say? Ooh, we do have a starship up here. I do have a data list class. Did we show the data list? Well, we should look at that later. All right, where did I lost the YouTube chat. Is that it? Yeah, I literally lost. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. Okay, we got it. Hey, Salty, says the Peter Venkman fan site. All right, back on topic here. All right, so yeah, bottom line is that you got your ISO. You could either have more light sensitivity or less light sensitivity. The pros and cons of either is that at a lower ISO number, you're going to get less grain, less noise. A higher ISO number will let in more light while using a higher shutter speed. And a high shutter speed is good because, you saw how it arrests motion. So that's very useful. It can freeze things, right? It can freeze time, so to speak, or at least metaphorically, it can freeze an object in time. So that's the benefit there. The downside of the high ISO is sometimes like you could totally do like ISO 800 or even ISO 1600. I would say don't do ISO 3200 unless you really have to. No doubt, man. Oh, that would be cool. I would love to see them hanging out. That would be so cool to see Salty and Barrett on the same stream. Might be dangerous though. Might be the perfect storm. Could be dangerous. There's a starship flying in the skies. They'd love to come and meet us, and they'll shoot and blow our minds. Data's password for the Enterprise. Oh, yo, his passwords are great. Yo, Slim, I like the idea you just gave me. Let's do it. Lieutenant Data password. We'll do this real quick and we'll get back on subject. This is my favorite. I love this one. I love this one so much. Oh, this was a great episode. First of all, wait, I can't pause the audio. Okay, there it is. First of all, he does this using the captain's voice. He does Patrick Stewart, Professor Xavier's voice while doing this. Okay, so that's like number one. Number two, I got to bring the volume up on this one because I can tell it's really low. All right, and number three, I should get this off the screen here because that's, wait, I can't move it. All right, there it is. All right, got it. I'm just clicking the wrong button. All right, let's do it.
Computer.
That's really low. Let me see if I can find a louder one. There we go. We got.
Computer.
Okay, here it is. Thank you, Slim.
Computer. Establish a security code for access to all functions previously transferred to bridge.
Enter code.
173467321 Charlie 32789777 643 Tango 732 Victor 731178888 732 476789764376 Lock.
Security code intact for all specified inquiries and orders.
I love it. Oh, that's a classic. That was a good episode. All right, let's get back on topic now. We've got a ship in the skies. They'd love to come and meet us, and they'll shoot and blow our minds. Okay, back on topic. So I was very amused by that. Oh yeah, the camera. Okay, so here goes nothing. All right, so you already saw the basics. So bottom line is, quick recap. More, in this case on Samsung, at least is more Pro, and balance it out accordingly. But you might decide that you don't care if you get a little more film grain in exchange for a high shutter speed. In the video we looked at earlier, and we see like I was able to stabilize the video, but I can't magically get rid of motion blur. And even though you could get rid of motion blur using like things like Topaz AI and even features in DaVinci, at that point it ceases to be the original video. So unless you're eking out more detail, so like in an example I'll show in a little while, it's really not a worthwhile example, but it's a good example for understanding how something can look extraordinary when it's not. You know, we'll see some examples there, but bottom line is like, I would say if anything, what you might do is get the exposure. Look, you don't have to make it look beautiful on the screen. You just need to have the camera see enough like different variations of light, different shades of gray, that if someone like me comes along or even yourself comes along and plays with the contrast settings, you'll be able to get like at least some outlines or something that you can then potentially, that can potentially lead to a positive ID. So, you know, that's basically the gist of that. But anyway, you also have white balance. I would typically leave an automatic white balance. What I would recommend doing is you go into the settings for the pro camera, right? Or for any, oh, that's sick. That is sick. Yo, see that? You know what's happening there? That's my 200 hertz monitor. So the 200 hertz monitor and a 1/1000 second shutter speed, looking at Slim's chat, is resulting in this exotic pattern. And typically the global shutter updates vertically, but because a phone is in portrait mode, we're holding it sideways basically, right? So, you know, had this been in landscape mode, this is actually pretty much what it happens on any camera, except that now I can't see the buttons on the side. Here we are. So what happens if we slow down the shutter speed? The bars start to get wider, and this is partially due to pulse width modulation. Basically, LEDs can give you the appearance of brightness reduction by turning themselves off and on at a rapid rate. Before I make anyone dizzy, I'm going to cut the camera away from that. But yeah, you could do that on your phone. If you have manual shutter control like we just did here, you could use that perhaps to test out your LEDs, determine which LEDs have flicker and which ones don't. So yeah, there's that. So anyway, last point about still camera before we take a look at video, because I think video evidence is where it's at. At least it depends. I think a little bit of both. If we go into here, we're going to look for various options. Advanced picture options. Right there. See what that says? That says raw copies. Save both JPEG and raw copies of pictures taken in Pro mode. Color tone adjustments won't be shown in raw copies, which I'm okay with, because what that means is if we look at the pictures, you'll notice that when I swipe sideways, this is the JPEG. Without even looking at the file info, I know it's a JPEG already. Doesn't say JPEG, but I know it's a JPEG. If I click properties, if I go to the dot menu up here somewhere, it'll tell me, like, it's like a 3-dot menu somewhere. If we click here, we can do, well, does it say JPEG? Oh, it does say JPEG. There it is. See? That's a JPEG. Conversely, this is a RAW, and this is literally the same picture as this one. But notice the colors seem off. It also seems that it cropped it differently because it essentially does more post-processing to the JPEG. And of course, if you don't compress the JPEG too heavily, it's not going to really have that many problems, but the raw picture is completely devoid of compression artifacts when compared to the JPEG, which it seems to be pretty minimal. I mean, you know, I've never really had problems with the JPEGs I'm getting out of these modern phones. Now, in the raw copy, why would we take a raw? Well, typically we would do this in an application like Photoshop or Lightroom in particular, or one of the competing alternatives to Lightroom, like one of the open source alternatives. Poor Brent Spiner had to remember how to lip sync that. Yo, Brent Spiner, man, he did some cool stuff as Lieutenant Commander Data. So, so in Lightroom, and there is a version of Lightroom for Android that I don't know if I have it installed right now, and I don't really feel like installing it, but essentially one of the things you would do in a app like that is you'd go and look for the white balance here. And so before, when I set it to automatic white balance, when it comes to the JPEG, if you set the white balance to a particular setting, you're stuck with that setting. Like, that's it. You know, like, you could go into Photoshop with a JPEG and alter the white balance, alter the color, but that original change was already baked into the image file. So it's like, you may be losing data, you might be crushing the color data, you're not going to be increasing fidelity. Essentially, if you're going to apply such a manipulation to a photo, and all you have is a JPEG, you're going to want to make a copy of it. Edit the copy, or save a copy, but never overwrite the original, because if you keep applying transformations to the same JPEG and saving on top of it, or saving a new picture and getting rid of the original and only modifying the subsequent copies, you're not going to be doing yourself any favors, all right? So that's really, really critical. But RAW is cool because when you open up a RAW image in a program like Lightroom, you can adjust the contrast, the brightness, the white balance, and other settings along those lines. And it'll give you a preview in Lightroom that has the modified colors. But there's literally a button that will revert back to the original. Whether you permanently revert back or just temporarily revert back to see what it looks like. It allows that. And one of the things that you can do, whether it be Lightroom or whatever Apple uses, like the fancy one, I don't think it's iPhoto, but it's one of the better photo editors that resemble Lightroom. There's like a picture my friend showed me when he was the Apple rep. It was a picture of like a box car, one of those railroad cars that are made out of wood or just shaped like a generic box, whatever they're made of. And there was a part that was completely cast in shadow. So you're looking inside, it's a sunny day. You got a box car, it's well lit, and you look at, and I gotta double check something real quick. My point is that there's an area that's cast in shadow or veiled in shadow. Okay, good. I was just making sure the chat works. Thank you, Courtney. And lovely seeing you, Courtney. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. So essentially, you'll have a part of a picture that's cast in shadow that looks like there's nothing there. But then in Lightroom, especially if you're dealing with a raw image, you play with the contrast, you play with the offset, you play with the brightness, and suddenly you're seeing details that you thought were invisible. And that is like one of the many things, the power of using using raw image formats. It doesn't mean you always have to use them. Sometimes it's nice to just have a JPEG on hand so that you can just send it to somebody immediately. But if you have the option to store both formats, you can always delete them after the fact, but yet they're good to hold on to. No doubt. It was lovely seeing you. Hope you have a great evening regardless of whether you hang out or not. Hey, Courtney, says the Peter Venkman fan site. All right, let's get back into this telephone here. So my point, so I don't think that applies here. There is an app called, I think, there's a couple of different apps. Samsung has a camera app that deals with raw images. Adobe has one. On this one here, like, here's an example. So like my time-based correctors dock, when I crank it up now, you can see more detail. Not really a lot more detail, but you can see more detail. So what we might do is, and I don't even know, this is just light balance. What I was really looking for is white balance, which I don't even see here. I literally don't see any white balance adjustment here, but white balance in short would be akin to the color temperature, which I feel like I'm definitely not in the best photo editor right now, but we're going to just go to color temperature. This would be similar to white balance as far as I'm concerned. You can see how like things either turn orange or get a warmer color temperature or they get a colder color temperature. And so when you take a raw and you use like a program like Lightroom or a similar software, you can modify that and then you can save the JPEG separately. So the idea is that you start with the raw image that has all of the original image data that it could possibly retain from the time it took the picture. You can modify it and you can export a JPEG or a PNG file without screwing up the original file. And so that means that now you can upload your UFO footage to Twitter and tell people, oh, also here, go to this Google Drive link or whatever cloud you want to use. Or maybe even Twitter, just tell people, hey, you can download the raw image. If you want to try manipulating the raw image or, trying to get more detail, you can offer to let people do that. So if I took a good UFO video, I would do that. And actually, I do have a UFO video of my own that I should show you guys, just to give you guys, like, the thought process, the scientific method, and how I got to the correct answer eventually. Contrast in sharpness Contrast in sharpness or key for your TV and monitor. Or really old screen TVs. Damn near all you could have just adjust to make any difference was chroma. Oh yeah, that's true. Just messing with the chroma would do a lot. Yeah, that's what the time-based corrector. Ironically, this box here, which is out of focus right now, that's literally like what it does. It locks onto the chroma lines or the luma lines and does some funky stuff to a analog video signal. It's really cool. And that's why I need to get a new VCR very soon. I'll do it this week. Right, so now we're going to get to the video settings, right? This is where I think the fun is to be had. Okay. Oh, DJ, I get it now. No, I did get it. DJ Flying Object. Oh, that's what the reference is. Now yeah, okay. Okay, where is that at? Where is it at? You got me now. Where's the DJ Foe reference? Wasn't it? There was another DJ Foe reference. I remember. Was that Slim or L? One of y'all said it. DJ Foe. Oh, that was the awesome one. DJ Foe is flying through outer space. And then use the hashtag or, you know, the pound sign on the telephone. It's like a boomer. The pound sign button, kids. All right. So anyway, this is video mode. Video mode is what people use typically. And you know what? I wouldn't even hold it against somebody if they stopped here. But look, once again, one of the things I noticed was that a lot of people had their camera's shutter speed or frame rate set to 24 frames per second. Now, yes, if you're a motion picture director, I get it. That's what you use. My friend had an asshole film teacher, and he used to always tell people, you can't tell the difference from 24 frames a second or more. And it's like, that's just an excuse not to learn how to be innovative as a filmmaker. But also, no, there's times where it makes sense to do everything in 24 frames per second. And there are times where things look artificial or don't look right when they're filmed at 120 frames per second. So I get it. And then Peter Jackson decided to do 48 frames per second for The Hobbit. And then people bitched and moaned, and he didn't have the courage to commit to that decision. So then he ends up selling at 24 frames a second. And that kind of annoyed me because I don't really care when people said that, oh, it made me nauseous. It's like, okay, you go make your own fan edit. What can I tell you? Because like, I can convert, you know, you can convert 48 frames to 24, but I can't convert 24 to 48 without making it artificial. I really want to buy The Hobbit at 48 frames per second. It's just not available. It sucks. Like, you know, I would have had to rob a movie theater when it came out in order to get it. Now, The Hobbit did have other issues, however. Essentially, with the CGI and the characters walking in front of the digital mat, they would have like the background would be in focus with the characters. So that's kind of not good because it's like, you know, you kind of like not giving people a true sense of depth of field, so to speak. And so yeah, you know, that's a whole. So it might not even be the 48 frames per second that's the true crime. The true crime of The Hobbit might be the way they handled that, you know, focus and depth of field and CGI backdrops, digital matte paintings as they call them. Jay kind of looks like you. Jay in Silent Bob or Jay C3PO. All right. So anyway, back to this here. So bottom line is that, you know, if you're going to use the regular camera app that just closed itself on me, what I would recommend doing is inspecting the modes up here. Now, on Samsung, at least, this is where the camera app has it by default. There are other camera apps, by the way. There are third-party camera apps that can interact with this hardware, but we're going to just stick with the stock software. So over here, it's got 9:16. That's really just a vertical version of 16:9. See, when I rotate my screen now, it says 16:9. So that just means regular widescreen. You'll notice that we have black bars or pillar box on either side because we are not utilizing the full widescreen. Whereas my ultra widescreen monitor, I actually recorded it for Star Wars Day. I recorded ultra widescreen, gameplay of Star Wars Squadrons, and it fits on the screen on both my monitor and on my phone, which looks really cool. But anyway, so just bottom line is that 16:9, 9:16, that's a standard resolution. And apparently it matters because when I pick 9:16 for video, oh yeah, and sometimes you accidentally flip into photo mode. So you got to go back into video mode and double check. So look, 9:16, and look at what I do. When I click the frame rate, it says 8K 24 frames a second. Well, that 8K is going to be a joke anyway. All you're going to do is give yourself a really large file. And, you know, you're going to be stuck at 24 frames a second. So that's kind of dumb. Also, a smaller pixel size is going to gather less light than a larger pixel size. And so this might not be ideal for UFOs. That being said, maybe test out all of these modes on airplanes, you know, just see like, does a different setting than what I'm recommending give you a better picture than, of an airplane than another setting. But I would gander that I never intend on using this particular 8K mode. It's just very limiting. I think it's more important to have proper full HD at 1080p and 60 frames a second. If for any reason I want to match it with a lower frame rate, I can totally do that. And in theory, setting it to 30 frames a second should give us more light, but I'm not sure if it does, but we could try to see if we see anything different there. I don't see a difference in this case. So yeah, I don't think the frame rate is gonna, in this particular mode, gonna affect the brightness. But you could do HD is really just 720p. Full HD is 1080p. And so I'd say the sweet spot would be 1080p, full HD at 60 frames a second. And that's why my camera is already set to that setting. Now, maybe I should use 4K if I was taking a picture of a UFO. But I wouldn't really be comfortable using that setting until I test it. But also, I find that, one, during the summertime, the phone gets really hot while using this setting. And I just think it's kind of generally unnecessary. But it's nice to have the option to do 4K at 60 frames a second. It will use storage capacity at a prodigious rate. And so that's why I find this to be the sweet spot. But either which way, I'd probably do, 60 frames a second, whether it be 4K or 1080p. That's what I would do. So now we got that out of the way. What happens if I pick a different resolution? What if we click full? So now look at that. We got the camera view. The video can record ultra wide or ultra tall, covering the whole screen. But the minute I pick full, I lose the option to change the settings. So now this thing is stuck at 1080p, which is okay. I'm okay with the 1080p, but it's locked at 30 frames a second. Now, maybe one of these days I'll do a video comparison and I'll find that, hey, you know what? Despite sacrificing the frame rate and cutting it in half, maybe I'll find out this looks better. But right now, I'm more... and then this is 1:1. This is essentially 1-to-1 ratio. This is like if you're taking a picture for Instagram and you want it to be some, dumb little square, you could do that too. So there you go. You got your different modes where you could pre-crop the image and then you end up limiting your options later on, but maybe that's what you want. But bottom line is that in this particular phone, setting it to the 9:16 or 16:9 aspect, standard widescreen, allows me more versatility and allows me to choose the setting that I deemed optimal. Then this here, what is this? Shaking hand. Super steady on. Notice I had it off. Why did I have it off? Wouldn't it be better if I didn't have image stabilization on? Sometimes yes. But if you ever use the Sony Handycam camcorder, which I have one like right here, it's behind my monitor, I'm not going to get it right now. It has a feature called Steady Shot. But what Steady Shot does essentially is it expands the image a little bit, like digital zoom, and then using an extra margin, it'll shake the image side to side. So if like the object in the middle shakes this way, it'll take that extra margin and shake the frame to move it along with that so that the object remains steady. Obviously, it can't eliminate all shaking, but it can help. One of the things I noticed, however, was before I had my own telescope, decades before I had my own real telescope, I was pointing camcorders at Jupiter. And when I zoomed in on Jupiter enough with the camcorder, when I put the camcorder into manual mode, manual focus, manual exposure, I started seeing the moons of Jupiter. Like it was just a white ball or a colorful ball that I can barely distinguish any detail on with little white dots next to it. And those turned out to be the moons of Jupiter, So a camera that's not intended for that can do this. But the caveat was if I had digital zoom on, if I had steady shot on, which is the digital image stabilization, Jupiter would be moving around the frame like this. And what was interesting is sometimes you'd see that you get it just steady, but because you're shaking a little bit, if you didn't have the stabilization on, it would look like... But when you have the stabilization on, it would almost look like the camera is doing this. And so it would almost look like the object, I would say, it would resemble having something scrolling horizontally at times or scrolling diagonally at times. It was smooth. It didn't ruin the image, but it meant that it's doing some digital transformations to that image, so to speak, that may cause it to lose detail, and so may, result in making it harder to, analyze the imagery later. Now, that was a Sony Handycam at like not even 480p. So, I don't really have any dreams of grandeur that such a camera would ever get us, a good clear image for UFO image analysis. $3,000 for a drone at Best Buy or $30 for a drone at Ollie's. Actually, you get like a DJI drone for like $400. That's pretty damn good. Like, it really is. Was in Best Buy today, and I saw it was weird that, yeah, I know, zero physical media was for sale at Best Buy. And I don't know what the real reason was. I spoke to an inventory guy, but he didn't really know the answer. But basically, it seems to me that the company doesn't want to, manage, putting out the product on the sales floor. They don't want to have to deal with the theft. They don't have to they want to deal with the returns. They don't want to deal with anything, related to the physical media at the store. And it allows them to devote more floor space to other things, because there was a time when the media section took up an enormous amount of sales floor space. And as it got smaller and smaller, they could devote the floor to other things. And there was less demand. People were dumb. People favor Netflix. And I'm not saying they're dumb for that. But Netflix pulls the rug out from you. You think that you got every episode of a given show on there. And then when they take it down, you now got to go get the Blu-ray box set or some kind of DVD box set. So at the end of the day, the physical media people, some of them swear by physical media. I respect that. I wouldn't go and tell people that they should be digitizing and ripping their discs all the time, but it wouldn't hurt, because DVDs sometimes do fail, especially under humid conditions or suboptimal conditions. There are times where DVDs will lose data or have what they call bit rot or something like data rot. And so having a personal backup is both legal. At least during the VHS and CD, compact disc era, there was some legal precedent that, sort of allows for that. So, to each their own, but if you value digital media, why not have both a digital media library and a physical media library? And why not have them complement each other with identical copies of each other? But anyway, getting back on topic here. Oh, so we all know that pound meant number. The real thing that's crazy to look up is the at and all the other punctuation points that were never actually put into the English language that much. Yeah, I forget why they put it in the typewriter. I don't know if that was used in teletype or telex machines, but I know what you're talking about. Well, I kind of do. Their prices were super high anyways. Yeah, Peter Venkman is like, I don't need that fuzz. Got no time for that fuzz. I'll go and buy it somewhere that gives me a good deal. What are some laptops? Why are some laptops? What are some laptops so cheap? Is it because they are cheap in quality? Oh, I see. Why are some laptops so cheap? Is it because they're cheap in quality? Maybe they are backlot trying. Well, it depends. So, yes and yes and no. But essentially, the specs are a big part, right? You can literally price the specs, benchmark them, or whatever you do, and just get an idea based on that. And that would typically be, the chipset, the motherboard, basically the CPU, and any peripherals that the laptop may or may not have. And, like things like, does it have an Ethernet port on it, RJ45 jack, or does it have a real HDMI port, or is everything through USB-C, which, granted, you can pay out of the ass for a MacBook and only get 2 USB ports on it. But that being besides the point, one of the things I've noticed is during Black Friday, I don't know if it's still like this, but back when laptops did cost a bit more than they do today, even for an entry-level laptop, you pay a few, like hundreds of dollars. On Black Friday, that's when the companies would release their shittiest computers, and maybe not necessarily by specs, but by build quality. So, you got that little touchpad on a laptop, and I remember one year, I think Black Friday 2012, HP was rolling out these laptops where the touchpad and the buttons were one big piece. And heck, my laptop is not like that. I actually have a nice touchpad on my laptop. Dell did right by me. But a lot of laptops for a while, they didn't have buttons underneath the touchpad. So you had the touchpad, and instead of separate buttons, it was all one big thing. And it would just be like little slits or lines drawn on the touchpad. I had an Acer laptop that had that set up, and it worked quite fine. But some people didn't know where the right-click button was. They didn't realize that you just got to press down in the bottom right corner. And essentially the idea was that the top part of the touchpad would be stationary and it works like a regular touchpad, but the bottom right and bottom left corners would be on top of a button, and they would be flexible enough that you could press down on them. And if you pressed down on the bottom right corner, even though there was no buttons, it would know if your finger is in the zone for the right click or if your finger's in the zone for the left click. And of course, you can always tap on it with 2 fingers and get your right click anyway. So you don't really need the physical buttons there. But the problem was that HP was releasing laptops where when you press down on the left click or right click button, the touchpad would flip up. Like it would literally just like almost like be like a flipping pogs, which I don't know if anybody knows what pogs are. But you know, like flipping a coin, it's essentially like pressing the button would produce enough leverage for that flat piece to flip up like that. So the entire touchpad would come out dangling from the flex cable or the ribbon cable. And then sometimes you could just put it back in and roll with it. Other times you might do the customer the courtesy of exchanging it so that it doesn't happen to them at home. Because that would look bad if you set up a customer's computer and then they go home and it breaks. And they're like, well, didn't the guy working on it notice this? But that was because HP was essentially using glue or double-sided adhesives to double-sided tape or something to hold those touchpads in there. So at some point I realized I could just give it a good firm press and get it to stay in there. But essentially the factory, the quality control, why would they prioritize quality control on a $200 laptop in a time when that sort of laptop should cost you at least $400? And so, yeah, they definitely roll out the low build quality, the shittier computers, because they're really not trying to, like the store is already losing money on it. Like a lot of times they have the loss leader. They sell a laptop for less than what it's worth in order to, get you to buy warranties and other things on it, so on and so forth. So I hope that answers the question, awesome one. When really shaky videos are stabilized, it kind of helps, but it is also really kind of annoying. Yeah, it depends. Look, I mean, it depends on the original quality, right? You know, like if the person takes the pictures the way I take them, a little stabilization could go a long way in making it more tolerable. But I know exactly what you're talking about when, like, it's already a shitty video. It's like what we looked at earlier in the stream, if you saw. Yeah, I'll show you right now, Slim. So this is the video I stabilized, and here we're going to just really quickly go back to my main monitor, and so we're going to go back to the beginning of the timeline. I'm going to mute the audio because I don't really care for the audio this time. And this is like a portrait video, and you can see the guys in the car driving, you can see the trees rolling by, and this thing is shaking with the person hitting bumps or the person shaking it. That's a headlight from another car. And did I already stabilize it? No, I did a duplicate. So what I'll do is I'll duplicate the same video and I'll make a cut. So then, down here in the timeline, this is stabilized now. And one of the issues we'll see here is the left side is not stabilized. The right side is. It's steady, but when this happens, like, obviously, just because I can stabilize it, that's not going to allow me to discern any additional detail, So I could dig where you're coming from, Slim, Now, what I did was I used a different frame blending mode where it doesn't look as smooth, but it's a bit more faithful to the original because it's playing it in slow motion, but it's representing the original frames. Now, there is a frame blending mode called optical flow. This is it. Okay, good. So this is the other frame blending mode. So optical flow, you got to see it looks a lot more buttery smooth, but it really is kind of artificial. The shape of the object kind of morphs here and there because it's trying to compute whatever it's doing. Interpolating the motion of the pixels, so to speak. So, that's not really doing anything, but this particular app does give you a little more control over the way you'd go about doing this. So obviously if this doesn't really help me and I feel that I can't get much detail out of it, I can use this mode where it doesn't look as smooth, but I'm getting more faithful data of the original reproduction. And then from there, we can go ahead and play with the color. And we can maybe go back to the beginning of the video if we wanted to. Let's go to the beginning video. Now you can't see everything, right? So you can't see the left, but mostly we really want to focus on the center anyway. Let's get rid of Slim's chat. No offense. I mean, we love to have your chat. I'm just gonna get rid of it so people can see the screen. Ah, look at that. Oh, is that today's stream? Oh no, I gotta refresh the screen. This is from 12 hours ago. But see, look at the thumbnail, LU. That's a hot thumbnail right there, I gotta say. But let's see. Oh, this one we gotta come back to in a minute. But anyway, so okay, this is what I was looking for. Oh wait, I gotta find the chat. Right. I got sidetracked. Okay, so there it is. DJ got mooned. Fly me to the moon. Oh yeah, so Slim, remember a while back you thought my chat was delayed? So I got to answer to that. My chat is not delayed. It's not anything really on my end, although I could probably speed it up a little bit. It's because sometimes I get really behind on the chat, and I take a long ass time to go through it. So that's part of it. For those who don't know or didn't watch Netflix on the Mike Tyson fight, oh yeah, that shit was insane. I inventoried some returns at a video distribution warehouse where a couple of times stacks and stacks of DVDs with about 5%, 10% damages, if not more, when delivered. I miss being able to buy electronics in know your quality by weight, assuming there isn't a lead bar installed inside of it. Yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly. I mean, wait, about 1/3 of the laptops were around $300, $400. Sounds about right. My Lenovo laptop is built that way, I think. Yeah, like Lenovo has their higher end models. They have their mid-level models. They have these like, they had the ones that didn't even have a hard drive in them or a regular SSD. I remember at one point, like, what was it, 2014, around 2015, they had these laptops that would have like a SD card, like a 32 gigabyte SD card soldered to the motherboard or some crazy shit like that. Or an internal MMC card. And it was a quasi SSD. It was flash memory, but it wasn't really an SSD in the conventional sense. And at the time, you know, it was like sometimes you get them for $130, you know? And so it's like, yeah, if you're doing schoolwork, they're fine. But customers would be like, oh, I don't need this for anything else. And then they'd come back going, I'm out of memory. It's like, well, yeah, you ran Windows Update on a 32 gigabyte flash memory. What you think was going to happen? Lenovo can always guarantee it is built that way. And like I said, I've had good Lenovos, I've had bad Lenovos. If you had it for 6 years, either you take really good care of your stuff or it's built to a level of quality that is built, you know, decently well, right? You know, works fine, just know your product. I use a separate keyboard and a separate mouse either way. Yeah, I dig that. You know, it's I recently set this. I gotta change the exposure settings on the camera here. Well, I'll do it later. But anyway, this is my portable Bluetooth keyboard. I sometimes link it to my phone because it's got 2.4 gigahertz dongle connectivity there. It's got two Bluetooth, so like one of these is for my phone, one of them is for my Steam Deck, so I can plug this into my work computer. And then, you know, sometimes I find it more ergonomic. It is 100%. I think it's a 10 key list. So obviously you don't have like all of the buttons here, but essentially I can do most of the functions with the function key. Functions. But it is a pretty handy dandy little keyboard, and I like the fact that it's got a physical volume knob. I think that's a great little gimmick right there, and it works on an Android, so that's pretty sweet. I like it. I like it a lot. It's got like a little elevation on the back. It's got that little battery compartment that elevates it. This is a pretty sweet product, and I think JLab makes some pretty neat stuff. My first set of bone conduction headphones from JLab. I have bone conduction headphones up here that are made. Anyway, that's a different topic. But yeah, I dig it. Now let's see what we got here. Was the only entry-level laptop with an AMD APU and outperforms others in its range. And that's the key sometimes. Like, it's like, well, what, am I getting good bang for my buck compared to comparable stuff, right? You know, I dig that. It makes sense, L. I was going to get a new tablet, but I checked about the section. I checked the about section, and the system had a date of November 2023. So I can't get anything new that isn't at least a year old. But is there anything wrong with it being a year old, especially if the price is right? But I can take where you're coming from. But like, I'm not always too picky. It's like, look, if the price is right, that orb thing is glowing. Wait, the orb thing is 4 glowing propellers outside of a sphere. 100% of a man-made drone filmed on potatoes. Yeah, exactly, Slim. I was only at Best Buy because my bro, what up, bro? wanted a USB drive. He wanted a 1 terabyte drive and said it was only $20. It wasn't. It was 109. I told him buy the 526 gig and 40 instead. I think he should have bought the 512 gigabyte instead of the 526 gig because I don't trust a non-standard size. But jokes aside, I dig where you're coming from. That does make sense. It's like mix and match. Just buy the two separately, right? And honestly, you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket on, low-cost flash memory anyway. You should probably at least buy them in pairs or have them on a different storage device. So just like how my server has its 50 terabytes, 40 terabytes, what is it, 48 terabyte? And then I still use hard disk drives as removable storage. So I got like the hot swap bay in the front of my computer, and it's like I literally, so what I did was a while back, I did like a backup of all of my astrophotography. I got to update it. And so I have a couple of removable pairs of disks that have identical copies of my astrophotography along with what's stored in the server. So, hopefully the server doesn't like lose all its data, but at least my bootleg movies or my non-bootleg movies are backed up along with things that I deem valuable. So you have your, internal storage, you got your offline cold storage, and some people, they store data on offline cold storage, but they don't store it anywhere else. And that's not a backup, right? That's just storing your data on something that may or may not be there in a year. My Wi-Fi is dying. My Wi-Fi is dying in one of my old tablets. Is it dying or is it just outdated Wi-Fi? Or can you like mess with the channels on your router? I'm just kind of spitballing. All I know is that when I use the toilet, the Wi-Fi has like a dead zone that's like about as large as this area. So if I sit down like this, I get good signal. But if I sit down taking a dump like this, the signal is a little bit and goes in and out sometimes. And it depends on the RF environment and time of the day. And ultimately, I just need to reposition my access points and add an additional one somewhere, and I should be good after that. Who needs a number pad anyway? I had an external number pad, but I found that, if I need one, I can get an external number pad, but generally it's not that essential. Maybe if you're accounting or doing accounting work, yeah. That's the thing that annoyed me when they came out with these low-cost laptops and they started putting the batteries inside and you couldn't remove them. And they did that on the expensive laptops too, the logic being that, they can make it a bit more compact. And eventually it made sense because the batteries ended up being bigger than the motherboard. Like, if I open up my Dell laptop, the motherboard is like this big and the battery's like that. So it's like, okay, you know what? You guys win. The more specifically, also, like on Windows or Linux, we mess with the power management settings. I should definitely do a going over of the power settings on Windows because you could do a lot of flexible stuff on the battery. Maybe we'll do that next week on this stream. But you could do a lot of like flexible cut. You can make the power management settings on Windows and with the AMD CPUs and APUs can be pretty flexible. Like you could do different things, kind of like get it to perform at a speed that you find acceptable, while also keeping the heat output within a certain limit and extending the runtime on a given charge. It just shuts off. Oh yeah, that sounds sketchy. Seems that a 5, and you've already did a factory restore on that device, I assume. Seems a 5 gigahertz, I was going to say gigahertz, a 5 gigahertz router don't play nice with old receivers. That's also like, an interesting factor. And speaking of old receivers, boy, do I have a treat for you guys. I didn't even finish talking about the cameras yet, but we'll get back to that. We did that real quick before we wrap it up. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I kind of capitulated. I was like, you know what? This works out quite fine. See, what it was there was a time I had like a Dell laptop where you could take the CD-ROM drive out and put a battery in the same slot. So now you had like two batteries. You had the main battery and the secondary battery, and that was pretty cool. But as the motherboards got smaller and the batteries got larger, internal batteries now, it's like, I get 8 hours on my laptop battery. It's like, well, depending on what settings I'm using. And even at half capacity, it's like 4 hours. Like, damn, it's like I'm still a happy camper, Yeah, a lot of times, there was a time where when my brother went to university, they told all the students who got laptops issued to them, some of the teachers argued or whoever said, take the battery out when it's plugged in. And that was because back then the laptops had a tendency to overcharge the battery when they got full. So not only would the laptop get hot, but the battery itself would get hot. And that would definitely adversely affect longevity. So as dumb as it was like, yeah, they were doing a shitty job, you know, creating a charge circuit that managed itself correctly. And well, you know, that's how these things go. I had an Acer laptop that went through 5 batteries during 7-year lifespan. Holy cow. I'm trying to remember like what the word. My last Acer laptop did pretty well, but its battery, I think it went through 2 batteries maybe. I don't even know if I changed. I think I changed the battery once because I got it from the e-waste recycling heap, and so maybe eventually I put a new battery in. But what was interesting was the battery was internal, but it looked like one of the removable batteries. So it was a removable battery, but it had like additional like plastic around it so you could screw it into place. So that was kind of cool. Oh yeah, you gotta get ready for game night? Okay, so we gotta have Slim and our friend Arvis218 streaming. So anyway, very briefly, let's talk about old devices here. I got a real treat for Slim here. Unfortunately, Slim's leaving us, right? Oh, did it not load my backup? Oh, there it is. See, Slim would know what this is. This is the Katamari Damacy. Katamari? What up, Curtis YZ Reacts? And this is a Windows mobile device from 06. This is a late model Windows mobile device. It differs from, say, the not so late model. And this beauty here, I got Punk Waddle on it right here. Look at that. We got our boy Punk Waddle. Ooh, the lighting is just really, maroon. Where's my camera adjustment when I need one? I should probably not try too hard. Well, whatever, okay. This is running... it is pretty responsive, especially this one here. This is running Windows Mobile 2005. But basically, both of these are running a version of Windows CE. So if we go here, we zoom in on the screen a little bit. This is actually a copy of my first PDA. Windows CE 2.11. They had Palm Tops, which are like mini laptops in 1998, 1997, even, I think even 96. And both of these devices have a plethora of applications installed, including the Core Media. Oh yeah, I forgot. I set up the start menu to open through a button because I thought it would be cool. But anyway, I have a media player on here called the Core Pocket Media Player. And then on here we have, a copy of a similar app right here. Here we have Core Pocket Media Player. And we got some anime on here because, of course, who wouldn't put anime on their stuff? So I'm trying to remember which one was the good quality file. Might have been one of these. Oh, this is black and white for the other device. Here it is. So most of these devices can't handle VGA resolution. This one can, but this device being a late model can actually handle the full 640 by 480 and give you like a reasonable frame rate. The refresh rate on here is still kind of sketchy, but it works. And you can skip through it or you control the volume. Just give you guys an idea. And then give you like an alternative example now that we got that out of the way. We're going to go and take this, look at this impossible to read screen. I should really just turn off all my lights to show you guys this, but we're going to roll with this for now. And we're going to find something that plays. Now, I found out that although this device only supports a 256 megabyte SD card, CF card, I mean, compact flash. Turns out you could put a 16 gig in there like I have here, but you got to partition it. Got Gundam Wing. and it takes a little bit of time to load. See, you can hear the Gundam song. Clearly, you can play the audio all right. Well, you're not going to be impressed with this one here. So, in order to get the video to play as well as it does, I had to shrink it. Is it really just... This one can't handle... This one can't handle full screen video at full frames. And you can just see like how like this particular liquid crystal display kind of gets. But you know, if my idea is I want to put like black and white TV shows on here, like episodes of I Love Lucy or The Honeymooners or some crazy shit like that. Oh my god, it's gangster. That's so cool, L. That's freaking cool. On Windows CE, they probably used the Windows CE 5.0 on that, if I had to guess, or 6.0. Because they do have some pretty mature Windows CE versions out. But yeah, so this one plays surprisingly well, but it took a lot of trial and error to figure out, oh wait, shrink the video to a low res. Nah, in this case, luckily not. Luckily not. It's like whatever the limit for FAT16 file system is, I think it's like 2 gig partitions or 4 gig partitions. So you could do like multiple 4 gig partitions if I remember correctly. I believe that's what it is. I believe it might be FAT32. I'm pretty sure it's FAT32. It's not FAT16. But it doesn't like do the exFAT file system. It doesn't do any of the weird stuff that you would normally do. Like, you know, Windows has exFAT and there's other ways to kind of give you a little more capacity on a FAT file system, FAT32. Now, the reason I played the video for that long is I want to go to the media info tab and we're going to see how well did it play. We're going to see, and in this case here, it clocked out at 6.3 frames a second, which is just enough for us to feel like it's playing video. But let me just assure you all, if we picked a different resolution, or if it was higher resolution, it would have been worse. And there's the resolution. That's basically like the equivalent of a GIF right there. 144 by 96 resolution, 24 frames a second, 56K per second, and 6 frames per second with 1600 out of 2200 frames being dropped. So this one here, you know, I still play with it. I'd like to get it to play videos better. There might be other ways. Like, there's actually an MPEG video player that might work better. But it's like hit or miss finding the installation files. I've had surprisingly good luck finding applications for this. But there are times where it's like really hit or miss. But I've had surprisingly good results finding what I need to find for this device. Ultimately, I have a color version, a late model of this that's a little bit bulkier. That does a better job playing video by far. But that HP device I showed you guys was definitely the one that takes the cake. Now, what was I going to do? Oh, yeah. We'll plug this into the charger. And then we'll get back to the chat. And then we'll prepare to wrap her up. Nah, so, interestingly, yeah, so the one in the car, you mean? Yeah, interesting. It takes a USB mouse and keyboard. That's kind of cool. Because that'd be cool, like, you know, if you're looking up directions and you don't want to type on a screen, it is nice to be able to type on a keyboard, right? Or some people might have a permanent Android tablet in their car, so they can certainly do stuff like that. Most people don't even know the thing is a computer. That's freaking cool, though. Yeah. It can take gigabytes, even though, like, they don't specify. You know, it's like, I've learned over the years that things will tell you, they'll have, like, the specs will give you a certain limit. And part of that might be because they didn't have that high capacity available at the time that they sold the device. And then if it becomes available and it happens to be compatible, then it works. Exactly. So yeah, exFAT is not an option. NTFS, as I'm aware, is not an option, at least not with the current software I have installed now. But FAT32 and regular old FAT16 are. FAT16 is often, I think, just called FAT. File allocation table. Yeah, or 24 exactly, like, you know, so it doesn't mean I can't get better than 24 FPS on the other device, but generally speaking, we're targeting between 24 and 30 frames a second, depending on what it is. You know, if it's a movie, it might very well be 24, so we don't need to make it higher. But in the case of the black and white device, I was literally going out of my way to, like, get less. Like, I was actually going out of my way I think I did find some examples where I was able to encode at 12 frames a second. But I had to, like, use a very old video encoding app, or at least one that supported older formats to get it to, you know, get as far as I could get it there. And even then, as you can see, it needs a little more work. But surprisingly, I think that was an MPEG 4 right there. Like, that was an MKV right there, I think, you know? And so the cool thing is the core media player really opens up possibilities even on this old device. The file manager I use is called Total Commander. Total Commander is available for Android. And the company that maintains that program still keeps the web page up with a Windows CE version that's compatible with this device. And this particular device is not... It's a MIPS CPU. Most of these use an ARM CPU, and so the MIPS and ARM installations are typically not compatible. So if a company distributes software or if a developer distributes a ARM version of an app, there's no guarantee they distribute a MIPS version of that app. What the hell was the PS1 game? Tell her you actually program your own critters to fight. Huh? What the hell was the PS1 game? Oh, I see. Tell her you actually program. There's a game where you program your own critters to fight? That's cool. Hey, what up there? What up, Lion Rats? And I'm doing quite well. It's good to see you, Lion Rat. And I hope you're having a wonderful evening. Oh, I just... Okay, thought something creeped up on me. It's the birds. I think I got a new bird nest. How the hell is there a bird nest here? Oh. Okay, I'm sorry. That got me distracted. So, I'm pretty sure I heard birds stirring in a bird's nest on top of the air conditioner. I don't know why they're still here. It's winter time, but whatever. Okay, let's get back on topic here. No, if 32 FPS was for all was good. Well, it depends on what you're doing. If 32 FPS is a bit overkill too, right? You know, I mean, literally, as I understand it, 29.97 is the standard, but that's only because of the whole TV thing, scan lines and all of that garbage. Realistically, there's nothing that stops us from doing just a straight 24 or 30 frames a second. Depends on what we're doing, though, you know. I know there was a PC game like that. You kind of train your creature in black and white. Well, Slim, Elle knows her retro games. It was supposed to go to PS1, but it never did. Dun, dun, dun. But yep. Okay, so we got the Pocket PCs. Okay, so let's really quickly make it real snappy here for you guys. I value your time. I appreciate everyone hanging out as late as you all did. Got to do the exposure time again. Okay, good. Okay, finally, we go to video mode. So bottom line is, yeah, pick the aspect ratio that allows you to pick something like 1080p at 60 frames a second. If you do some testing and you're satisfied using the camera at 4K, by all means, because 4K is going to give us more resolution to zoom into, more resolution to enhance. So that makes sense. So if you're going to do drones, yeah, that's the basic video mode. Earlier in this stream, for anyone who tuned in late, we did go over how to use the Pro camera mode for still photography. Then I went over how to use the regular video camera to ensure that you got the optimal frame rate, because I'm seeing drone footage on Twitter that it's filmed at like 24 frames per second. It's like, look, you're not a motion picture director. Use a higher frame rate, because the more frames you have, the less motion blur you're going to get, the more detail there's going to be available to either enhance or at least analyze in its original form. Finally, Pro Video Mode. Now, this is similar here, but it's a little bit different here. So what we got here, it might be both. That's a good one, though, Lion Rat. And I don't know if you're reading my mind. Oh, look at that. You got a little, yeah. Is it you? Did you send your minions in? Would they be climbing up on the window? Do mice do that? Do they climb on the outside window? Can they climb asbestos tile? Hopefully not. RoboPit. Ooh, that sounds like a PlayStation 1 game or an old PC game. All right. Now, very similar to the still photography mode, but this time, yes, we still have the ISO. So once again, more light sensitivity or less light sensitivity. Lower light sensitivity means less grainy video, but it means that you have to use a lower shutter speed. And in this particular mode, the way I have my camera set up right now, because I do have it set for full HD 60, I cannot pick anything slower than 1/60th of a second as a shutter speed, because it's literally recording video at 60 frames a second. So what I might do is pick ISO 200 or maybe 400. And then we still have the manual focus, right? Same thing as before. Once again, if you're going to film a drone in the sky, you cannot rely on the autofocus. This is what you need to do. So ideally what you would do is you'd pick a target on the ground like a tree, a far away tree, and you would try to do manual focus on that. When you get the green highlights on the distant tree, you'd let it stay on that setting. And then you point it at the drone. That should also be focused at infinity, right? So remember, you're doing the manual focus on a distant object on the ground, a terrestrial object. But as long as you focused correctly, then whatever you point at in the sky will remain in focus, and you won't need to adjust the focus, because essentially whatever's at the maximum distance of your focus setting is essentially focused at infinity. So yeah, once you have the focus dialed in, tap on the screen. White balance, you can leave that alone, but if you really want, you could mess with that while you're recording it. But what if we want to do, we want to use a lower ISO setting? And I want a slower shutter speed, even though I don't recommend it. Well, let's go here and look at that. We could do 120 frames a second if we want. That might actually be more desirable. We might actually want to do this. 120 frames a second, full HD, 1080p. That's FHD means 1080p. Then notice the image got darker, because when I told it to go to 120 frames a second, it means that each individual frame is getting half as much light as it was before. And so it's going to be, oh, look at my umbrella. You can see my umbrellas. And so what you're going to do is you're going to have to compensate. You're going to have to, you can't change the shutter speed to make it brighter, because remember, lower shutter speed means more light, but I just cranked the frame rate up from 60 to 120. So we're stuck at this shutter speed. So at that point, yeah, we're going to have to crank up the ISO. But in exchange for balancing this out, the drone object that we're trying to image will have, literally, we're taking 120 still images of that moving object every second. And so, you know, you're gonna have more to analyze, is my point. It's just like when you have more to love, right? You know, that's terrible. Did you see a drone? No, I didn't see a drone in the sky lying ratting, but I've been seeing way too much shitty drone footage, and I just feel like I need to do some outreach efforts. So I posted some tweets. I'm like, learn to use your camera, learn to use manual focus, learn to use manual exposure, practice, understand it. Or maybe not understand it, but just, like, you know, do the basics. You know what I mean? Like you can't count on autofocus, is my point. Yeah. And it's not that I'm trying to be, it's not about being a photography purist. It's that you literally can't count on autofocus on a smartphone, because it's designed to get an object like this, you know, me. Because if I'm out of focus, this camera could detect that the contrast between this detail right here is not sharp. It's going to be blurry. But when it's auto-focusing, the goal of the camera is that it's going to say that, oh, look, I found a color white next to a stark change in brightness, a difference in contrast between this and this. And that's what, you know, is going to be, you know, essentially the basis of an autofocus measurement, so to speak. And that just does not work. That method of contrast detection does not work on aerial objects against a flat sky or a dark sky. So that's sort of, I'm just kind of just conveying that, like, in the event that any of you guys spot a drone or a suspected drone, you know, I couldn't care less what pictures anyone, I mean, I'll check out videos that any of you guys post, but if I can't make out what I'm looking at, or if I can't make out with what I'm looking at, no, I'm kidding, that's terrible. If you can't make out with a drone, that would be like interspecies relations, right? You know, if we want to do interspecies relations, I got to get my robot suit on. Okay. Anyway, that's a different topic. That's kind of raunchy. But jokes aside, you can't make out with a robot. Wait, that's not what I mean. You can't make out what you're looking at in most of these drone videos. And so if people learn how to use their cameras, they can make out what they're looking at. And maybe they can also... Anyway, I digress. So finally... Wow, man, my brain's in the gutter here. All right. Hey, what up, the Patter wannabe? And welcome back, James. Yeah, right? If only we could do a shutter speed video with the turtles. We can. I got a picture of my Puffy and she's running and you got motion blur in her arms. So it's like, it shows to tell that turtles can move, yo. Okay, like when they want to get away from a predator, they'll move. Yes. And look, there is no blue outline around the headset. For drone focus, should be able to set the focus to infinity depth. Yeah, basically you can do that. That's exactly right. Now, one thing I noticed is with certain telephoto lenses, sometimes infinity comes out of focus. Or depending on what type of lens people are using or the way it's installed, if they're using an adapter, this is an issue, you know, like, it's a real issue, it is, but like, ultimately, in theory, focusing, like my Nikon, if I focus to infinity, I find I could bring it about 1 micro turn beyond infinity, and it goes out of focus, so that's why I say, like, you know, taking a good look, testing an object on the ground, and determining infinity based on that is kind of ideal when it's possible. Cheers to Padawannabe. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. Dude, I live in the middle of the country where I literally watch all kinds of jets leaving vapor trails crisscrossing across the country. Just the day before yesterday, I watched them leave and... Leave a what? That's all it says. I saved my brother's printer. Whew. Well, robot kind will be grateful to you, awesome one. That is true. So I learned 2 things from that story yesterday. One, I enjoyed the story. Thank you for sharing that visual novel, L. Yesterday on LCX's channel, a visual novel was read called Planetarian. And the second thing I learned was that I've been spelling planetarian wrong all my life. I'm super disappointed because I pride myself in decent spelling and grammar. And the fact that I've been spelling that word incorrectly, like I was literally going and typing planetarium. There is no planetarium, apparently. I mean, we're going to Google this shit right now because I almost don't believe it. Planetarium. Is that a word? Okay, it is a word, but apparently also the other word is correct. Let's see. Now we're going to... Like, what is the difference? No. Google is being a smartass. Look, see, it even says here, thoughts from a planetarian. Any planetarium is better. What is going on here? I'm so confused. So is there a difference or not? Okay. Is there a difference between a planetarium and planetarian? Okay, I didn't ask about software, Google. I hate when Google is a smartass. I mean, like, clearly the person who created the visual novel spells it as planetarian. So, I mean, you know, there's that. And so, you know, I was like, at first I was like, oh, did LCX misspell planetarium? It's like, no, that's the spelling of the story. That's the name of the story. It is, you know. But it drives me insane to, you know, not know why there's a different word. And just for reference, so everyone knows what I'm talking about, we're just going to copy and paste the link. Yep, right here. This is the stream from yesterday. This is what I woke up for. This is why I didn't stream. No, okay, this is not why I didn't stream yesterday because I was super tired, but that's because I went to bed and then had trouble sleeping and then ended up waking up early for Loki's show, right? I watched Stone Loki's Mornings of Mischief, like 2 hours before Ella's show started. But this is reading and more. Viewing on channel, and I just spelled the full name on @ELL. Wait. There we go. Okay. Now, getting back on topic here. Well, I think we are on topic. Am I behind the chat again? Oh man, you guys write fast. I never noticed that before. I didn't notice it till now. An entire crazy crisscross grid. Yeah, you know, 180 miles in above my shop, 180 miles in every direction. And sometimes we talked about this before, so I'm not going to go into detail on that. Most likely just normal flight patterns, but some people assume that every condensation trail is some kind of activity, and it's like, well, maybe, maybe not. You got to take some measurements. You got to keep real records. You got to check it against the flight radar. Error code was giving wrong directions. Lol, I've seen a video of turtles moving really fast across about 10 meters. Some guy was racing them. Oh my god, it's sick. Cliffhanger. That's my friend had a iguana named Cliffhanger, and Cliffhangette, the female iguana. DJ's turtles ride hard on his bicycle. You know, when I brought home my tortoise, I brought him home in a bag inside a plastic box, hanging from my handlebars. Dude, I see 1080. I know, right? This game is hot. 1080. And I got some recordings. I think I uploaded a while ago. I streamed it before. And I was going to play it tonight so that we could kind of divert ourselves from the topic of the bullshit UFOs, drones, to playing some N64. But I got to find the HDMI cable because my N64 has internal HDMI, but it's a micro HDMI port to a regular HDMI cable that I need, or I need to use an adapter. You know, I can't just plug a regular HDMI cable. That's like the only shortcoming of the HDMI upgrade, but it's a minor issue, you know? And I have the cable. It's probably right over there. I just got to find it. But yeah, good. That's one of my favorite games. Yep. Oh, I forgot that I was going to do this. I was going to get the South Park episode. Is it true? Like, there was that South Park episode where the guy's like, it was an imitation of the Star Trek episode with the prison colony, right? So there's a Star Trek episode, they land on a prison colony, and South Park did an imitation, and the guy's like, welcome to the planetarium. Wait, welcome to the planetarium. I can't even imitate the guy, but he was wearing the same clothes, and it was just so absurd. Planetarian refers to Umini. Is that the robot, the projector? The projector, you know? Yeah, anyway, I'll revisit that. Heck, I might even buy the game, because you know what? Oh, it was free on Steam, I believe, right? Well, either way, I want that creator of that game to get credit. You know, we watched it on your channel, but it was worth my time enough that I liked the work they did. And I'll be honest, like the first 10 minutes, 20 minutes of the stream, I had to fight to stay awake because like I, was about to fall back asleep before your show started. I actually had to set my alarm after Loki's show. I fell asleep and then woke back up after, like I think 5 or 10 minutes to 11 o'clock a.m. So yeah, I almost missed some, but I basically got most of the story. Just the beginning, the first 10, 15 minutes, I was like fighting to stay awake. It was insane. And then towards the end, I couldn't go back to sleep right away. Yumeni Hoshino, the android of the planetarium in the visual. See, everyone's confusing me. Like, wait, so wait, what is this word? No, I'm kidding. Planetarian refers to Yumeni. Okay, I get it now. She's the got it. Okay, I get it. Thank you. Okay, now it's making sense now. You know when people are like, make this make sense. You've made it make sense. Thank you, L. And yes, Stellarium Sanitarium is I got some video from a sanitarium. If you look up Bum Hunter on this channel's past videos, I might have to re-upload that. Yeah, I'm gonna re-upload Bum Hunter. I've been remastering it, but we got some. We did some fake Bum Hunter videos at the Seaview Hospital Sanatorium, one of them.
This video is brought to you by Incogni. Stick around here. I also think a better comparison would be man-made fire. Sure, fire can keep going, it basically never stops. People are often extremely careless with their own personal information, quickly agreeing to various data sharing policies, clarity problems. It was almost like manifestations of pain. The subjects would be screaming or crying or really just demented. And at the time, I didn't really pay that much attention. I saved the photos and the prompts, and a few times I tried it out for myself to test.
Oh, creepy AI
I didn't know what to think, so eventually I moved on. Well, over time, with those images still in the back of my mind, I started to see things like this, where ChatGPT would randomly discuss emotional turmoil.
This is an actual thing that these labs are thinking about.
Monitoring system, end quote. Obviously, to be fair, this happened within the confines of a research project, but tragedy about to take place or...
is this about the freaking A0 ChatGPT thing making a copy of itself and backing itself up? I don't exactly call it bullshit, but I suspect that the conditions that allowed that software, that AI software to back itself up was sort of preset by the developers ahead of time. You know, I don't think it was some organic, like, self-thinking machine that decided to do some type of self-preservation thing. I suspect this self-preservation was programmed into it so that it would do exactly that. Because unless they're going to release their source code, maybe they did release their source code. You know what? I should not talk with authority on something that I have to investigate. People going back and forth talking about what it is, but nobody ain't up there to see what's there. And I saw some footage from an airplane, but it looked kind of fake, like from a passenger jet. So I don't like any of this definitive stuff, especially when half of it could be like fake AI stuff. FPV drones explain all kinds of wild stuff you might think about drones. Just imagine if you had an extra 20 years and all kinds of money to throw out the thing that moves like that. Yeah. The turtle rides bike with no handlebars. No handlebars. No handlebars. Look, no handlebars. It's not free. Well, that's all right, because I think they deserve our money. Free cell is free, and I don't have the patience for it. Free cell and solitaire, no patience. Planetarian, I think that developer deserves our money. Pokemon Stadium, I do have that. And I have a transfer pack laying around somewhere, but I don't really need I have a transfer pack, but I also have this device here that lets me back up my Game Boy games to the computer. And I bought this primarily to back up my save data, but it also allows me to back up the game and the save data, so I can play it in an emulator with my own, like, so I could back up I backed up my 20-year-old Game Boy Pokemon game, and I'm able to play that game on the computer. But my other idea was to use this so that I can back up the save data and change the battery in the cartridge. And a tiny shell for a helmet. Yeah, no, what we do is we slay some baby turtles, and then we get the hatchlings and we take their shell and we turn it into a helmet. Oh god, that's morbid. No, I have that on I have all of those in real cartridges, James, except for StarCraft. That I have on a SD card flash cartridge. And yeah, the game StarCraft 64 is surprisingly playable. Surprisingly playable. I'm not playing any N64 games today. I was going to play some today, but we're not doing that. Maybe like tomorrow today, like in 12 hours. I don't know. 20 hours. Anyway, Perfect Dark is not so much compared to Pod Racer or Pokemon Stadium. Pokemon Stadium has all of its problems from having such a small list of what you can use off Pokemon available. Now, interestingly, Perfect Dark is one of those games that you can play in widescreen. You can literally make it. In fact, that's what I was going to demonstrate. I was going to demonstrate widescreen N64 games, but I decided that we're not doing that. We're going to wrap it up, basically.
Hi.
That's a big boy.
Good morning. What's this? What's this?
It's his finger dinner.
Oh, what are you doing?
God bless America. Caw-caw. No wonder farmers were shooting these things down. They're like, stop eating my crops, you big mother effer. That's not nice. But no, they're majestic creatures, I would say. That is like amazing. I'm not gonna lie. That is amazing. It's beautiful and amazing and cool. Yes, I have Mario Kart.
When you're working on something.
Oh, this fucking guy. He's
all the way up the ladder, got everything you need, and just as you're getting ready to work, you drop the thing, and then you got to go all the way down. Brother, I feel your pain, but it's worse, much worse.
Oh no! You don't have the tool to go down.
About 200 feet up the ground. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but if I'm doing that, which I wouldn't be, but if I was, everything would have strings tied around it, and I'd have a roll of tape in every pocket. Maybe 2 more stuffed in my socks just in case. Poor guy. There you go.
It's true. You could hang the tape from a belt loop and then just kind of roll it out from there.
You know how it is when you're working on something.
There is sound. Key/visual arts are still relevant today. Oh goodness, my chat just jumped. Key/visual arts are still relevant today. They're better known for Clannad, Kanan, Air, Little Busters, the anime adaptations mostly. I got a bank statement saying I owe nothing. You owe nothing. So you can call the bank and be like, I owe you nothing. Anyway, they're always doing well with the gotcha game visual novel, Heaven Burns Red. I can't play StarCraft without my hotkey shortcuts. Oh yeah, that does help a lot. I don't know many, but I know how to assign hotkeys to like a group of Marines, a group of fighter planes, you know, Wraiths or whatever, you know. That's about the extent of hotkeys that I know. And I guess if you buy a macro board or I guess there's things you could do otherwise. Yeah, it's wait, you could play red, blue, and yellow. Are you once on your PC? How cool is that? Yeah, well, I got red and yellow, but my yellow cartridge I haven't had in years. I think it disappeared in junior high school. But yeah, I do have my old red cartridge that I could play on my PC and immediately on my PC. Yep. Everything else I can copy. I can play games on an emulator, and I can copy the game and the save data to a flash cartridge. At least I'm pretty sure I can copy the save data to a flash cartridge. I'm not 100% on that. I still have the Pokemon game adapter, but I'm not sure if if I have our old Pokemon games. I didn't even know there was a game adapter. I'll have to look, unless you're talking about the transfer pack. That's pretty cool, though. I gotta look into that. Double tap on the oh no DJ is AI copying itself. Doo-doo-doo-doo. We should do the joke about that with PD sometimes on Floro Show. A few of the widescreen and 64 games do look good. A few, like, what? Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, but I mean, you're not really widescreening. What you're doing is you're essentially playing it on a modern widescreen TV. Even in composite video mode, you could do it, but you're stretching the image. So when people stretch the image and they make the picture look ugly, that's not what it's for. It's literally for games that present themselves. What they do is the game will still show up on a square screen in 4:3 aspect slim, but you'll see the circles won't be circles. They'll be ovals. They'll be like tall ovals. And so by turning on the stretch feature, you're simply bringing it back to the normal circular shape. Whereas most people, what they do is they go, oh, the image has black bars on the side, and they get all dumb. And then they stretch it out so it's a horizontal oval, which is like the opposite of what you're supposed to do. But it works when you have like component cables better. Or if you're using an HDMI adapter that taps into the RGB signals, that certainly will, you know, bring it a bit further. You know, it's not like you can create fake resolution, but every bit helps. I know, right? Yeah. America. Fuck yeah. America. Fuck yeah. Dun, 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 dun. 4, maybe 6, maybe. I don't know. Rampage on N64. That game was pretty good. Yeah, me and my friends used to play that game. Had a great time. I have very fond memories of playing that game. I love bashing buildings. Like, really, I just love destruction graphics. I like the idea of being a giant gorilla or dinosaur knocking down buildings. I'm with it. I liked it. Eating people out of the window. That was cool, like a little snack. Had a good time doing that. I miss playing maybe it's Maybelline. When building, it's essential for fast builds and yes, tell me about it. Tell me about it, L. I know. I mean, I don't know how, but I do know. I've been on the receiving end of combat enough times to know that I'm not building shit fast enough. I'm not mining minerals fast enough. I'm not doing anything fast enough in that game. Press B to build, then press the hotkey for the building you want. V for advanced buildings. Thank you. One day, I might actually have the competitive edge to play StarCraft against other people. And I'm assuming you're talking about StarCraft 1 as opposed to 2. Although it would be cool if it applies to both StarCraft games. So anyway, real quick, let's wrap it up. But we're going to just take a quick look at some garbage drone footage. So anyway, take my word for it. I've had my way with this footage. But we're going to do real quick in DaVinci Resolve is we're going to crank up the lift. We're going to crank up the gamma. Just going to kind of manipulate it a little bit. We're going to do the gain. We're going to do the offset. And see, there's really just not much to look at here. We can also do stuff like this. We could do like a, like a little color curve thing. So if we want, like we could probably like, Flat Earthers, what Flat Earthers do is they'll crank up the brightness and they'll say, look at the planet of the Earth. There's a square pixel behind the Earth, meaning NASA faked it. Like, dude, you downloaded a JPEG of an Apollo mission when NASA has made the TIFF scans of the film images from the Hasselblad cameras available for like a decade. And so, yeah, the flat earth is kind of not doing it right. You know, it's like you can present your evidence, but start off with the best quality image as opposed to a compressed JPEG. And so a lot of what I'm enhancing out of this is just compression artifacts. You know, it's like madly inconclusive, but we can still analyze it if we want. And you can see there's like a moving noise pattern. Oops, oh God, it's moving too much. I lost it. Oh, I see why. But yeah, it's just nothing to see here. These are not the droids you're looking for, is my point. So we're going to undo all of the transformations I did to that one because I don't want to permanently make any of that part of the image, right? And then last but not least, let's see if we have another picture. Oh yeah, this is the final drone footage. Good. So I'm not really going to look at the one from the dot. There's this guy, he showed a picture of this thing that looked like a yin-yang sign fireball. It's in the thumbnail from this video. But honestly, it doesn't mean anything to me. You know, it's like, okay, it looks like a yin-yang sign. But this one was interesting in particular. Because if you look at it, it initially resembles an F-117 stealth bomber. It's got that triangle shape. The problem is no matter what I do to the contrast, I can't get the outline. So I can draw an outline on top of this image to create the shape of a B-2 Spirit, or the later version, the B-22 Spirit, whatever it's called. But ultimately, this is the side of the tube on a passenger airliner. This is illuminated over here. And someone posted pictures on Twitter underneath this post that show that this is probably an A320 Neo. A320 is an Airbus plane manufactured by Airbus. They're the guys who make the, you know, things. And, you know, this guy's going to make whatever claim he wants, but it's like, you know, I think when we want to believe, you want to believe you're going to try to, you know, find anything that supports what you're looking for. And saying, like, once a person says that this looks like an AI robotic eye, I know this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I don't care if he's a helicopter pilot. I don't give a shit if he flew a fucking plane. That just means he has enough money for a fucking plane. You know? But, like, it doesn't tell me if the guy knows what the fuck he's looking at. And, frankly, I'm inclined to think he doesn't, respectfully. Well, maybe that's not the most respectful thing to say. But what I mean is, I am of the opinion that the guy doesn't know what he's looking at. And when he used the word AI robotic eye, he exhibited that very strongly, that he does not know what he's talking about or looking at, because that's not a thing. It's not a thing. Okay? Anyway, so with that being said, let's get the chat back up on screen and we'll wrap this up. If we missed anything, I'll save it for next week. You know, we'll get some footage. Maybe I'll have more organized video for you guys, but I'd like to send you guys to a good friend of mine if he's still streaming. He's not streaming. Oh, he is streaming. Good, good, good. So we're going to raid Aurus, or Aurus, and that applies to part 1, and they probably still work in part 2, and oh boy, I don't want to watch another video, so we're going to skip through it. Oh, it's a cute song. And that's where the reference came. Thank you, James. At least I know where the reference came from. Rampage, NBA Jam, and Peanut Butter, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Original Harlem Globetrotters, Pinball Machine, and like 70-year-old built a 70-year-old built into a floor shuffle game at the bar. That's just less than a long block from me. That's gangster. Oh, you got one of those old arcade setups. Oh shoot, down the block. That's nice. There's an American thing that people sometimes wouldn't get, how long a block is versus how short a block is. Yeah, how a long block is. Yeah, it's true. So you got like city blocks or whatever, and you got like, yeah, you got different types of blocks. You're absolutely right. 300 feet to 700 feet on average, and you know which one is going to be, depending on which direction you're going to walk, is going to make quite a bit of difference. Like when you're flying a plane, you got to understand which direction you're going and go and what kind of things you might have to fly around that would add distance to the trip. Some blocks are a mile on a side slim. Ooh, that is not a real block. No, well, technically, I guess it is. I mean, yeah, it's a block like, like the Vegas Strip. Which, is that a block or multiple blocks? Anyway, a mile is no problem in Vegas. Yeah, I see. It's funny, like, it read my mind. And so, with that being said, we've been all over the place tonight. And I want to thank you all for hanging out tonight. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Hope you learned something. Most notably, the main takeaway would be how to use a smartphone's camera in manual mode. And perhaps next week we'll have some footage from San Antonio edited, because I've been editing it because I want to send it to Snacks and Punk Waddle so they could do their thing with it. Oh, he's done? Oh, bummer. Okay, Arvis is done, so we're going to raid. You sure? Oh, yeah, he did end. We're going to raid Stock of Iron. Well, you can raid anyone you want, but
Someone else's. Take care. Bye-bye.
See, he says bye-bye. I got to click the like button on that. Stock of Iron was running a stream for multiple hours. Oh, yeah, he's still running a stream for multiple hours. So, yeah, call it a DJ raid or something. Whatever you want to call it. But you can say DJ raid, for anyone who chooses to show up even for a second or not at all. That's cool, too, if you don't show up. Just giving you guys some options. He's playing chess. He's playing chess with Canadian Spider-Man. And Richard, and West Cagle, and Max Redstone, and Mark D with a C is there. I hope he's doing well. I like that dude. He's a cool dude. He's a very good Star Trek fan. He's a very devout Trekkie, you could say, that Mark D with a C. And with that being said, if I don't see any of you all before Christmas, I hope you all have a very, very Merry Christmas. I know I'm going to have a good time. I took Sunday off so I could have a slightly longer weekend because I'm going to work on Christmas and then visit my cousins right after Christmas. And then, after a 2-day work week, I'm off the rest of the week again. So it's like, okay, so win-win, right? But yeah, we'll get Arvis tomorrow night or Saturday night. Thank you very much, Elle. I hope you have a wonderful evening too. I enjoyed your show yesterday as well. I did not see your show today, however. But I did sleep well. Ciao. Merry Christmas. You too, awesome one. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas, and I hope you're enjoying your holiday season thus far. And if I have any cool pictures of turtles standing next to porcelain villages, I will be sure to let you guys know. Thanks, Peter Venkman fansite. Merry Christmas to you too. I think Big Angry Phil. Oh, I like Big Angry Phil. He's great, actually. Yeah, I tuned into his stuff, and he actually had some good stuff. Watching his show kind of inspired me. If you get a link to that, I'll put it up. Or you could put it up, or I could look for it, but I want to end this. Early Christmas. Take care, DJ Ronnie. Oh, thanks. You too, Lady Miss. Thank you for the grubs for my turtles. Yum, yum. I'll feed them some grubs. They'll love that shit. No, seriously, though, I got to give them some good grubs tomorrow, and I got to give them some shrimp on Christmas, so, to get their special dinner. Max Kegel. Oh, boy. Giggle snort. Later, Curtis YZ reacts. Hey, Lady Mist. All right. So, real quick, we're going to grab... That's what she said. What did I say? A Big Angry... Because I do enjoy Big Angry Phil, but you guys can follow up either person if you want to raid anyone. He's playing Killer Instinct. So
this video is sponsored.
He's just playing a video game. That's boring. No, I'm kidding. But Big Angry Phil is a cool dude. So, you can raid Phil... Or you can raid Stock of Iron, your choice. I don't even care if you say my name. Have a lonely rest of your evening. What? That's mad funny. Wait, I think that's the autocorrect. I think Lady Miss meant have a lovely rest of your evening. Because I know Lady Miss would not tell someone to have a lonely rest of your evening. At least I'm pretty sure she wouldn't unless there was an inside joke there. So, I'm going to guess you meant have a lovely rest of your evening. So, with that being said, I hope you guys have a lonely rest of your evening tonight. But jokes aside, thanks again. And if you have any questions, anyone watching, she said lovely. She didn't mean lonely. She meant lovely. See? It's all good. I like this one more. It's very mean-spirited, Lady Mist. From the Lady of the Void, of course Lady Mist would post, have a lonely evening. I wish I had some Halloween sound effects to go with that. Hey, autocorrect is essential for having a good time on the weekend. And with that being said, for anyone watching on the replay, if you have any questions, comments, ideas, or concerns, please leave a comment. And for now, we shall end transmission as soon as I find the button which does that. And we are ending transmission in 3, 2, 1.